Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 32nd episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraiya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. Jiraiya watched how the moon acolytes unfurled a massive scroll onto the estate's main yard. On the scroll was an equally large sealing array arranged in circular patterns, which formed a portal gate that would teleport whoever stepped on it to another portal, allegedly in the moon. So far, very few people knew about its existence until now, Jiraiya being among the privileged few. I had my best seal masters study this scroll, but they were barely able to decipher it, Jiraiya inwardly lamented, as he saw the scroll completely unfurl. The secrets of teleportation, right into our very hands, everything was ready for her departure. The team that would escort Hinata to the moon would be led by Shisui Uchiha. Since Jiraiya felt they would need another sage, the fact that they had to send two sages so far away from the front lines hurt immensely. Since his jutsu could provide easy aerial transportation, fortunately, they weren't as lacking in that department, as they had many ninjas that could summon flying animals, several Hyugas that volunteered for the job, such as Takuma, and several moon acolytes, Nori among them. Naturally, most of the Hyuga clan was there, ready to bid Hinata good luck on her mission. The moon portal is ready, Hinata-sama, Takuya told the Hyuga clan head. Step into the circle of seals, and we'll activate it. How safe it is? Hikari asked. I would hate if my daughter and her companions ended up floating in the outer space or something like that. Worry not, Hikari-sama, we have tested this portal multiple times, Nori assured her. We wouldn't risk any life, much less Hinata-sama's, on such venture if there were risks like that. Good luck up there, Nei-chan, Hanabi said, as she walked towards her sister and gave her a hug. I'm sorry I have to leave on such a critical moment, Hanabi-chan, Hinata said, hugging her sister back. I'll try to get back as soon as I can, so we can fight in this war together. Don't worry about me, I have a Tensigan too, I can take care of myself, Hanabi replied. If that creep shows up, I'll give him a beating on your behalf. Now that I have Sage Mode, that guy won't be able to even touch me. Hinata smiled at her. I'm sure he won't. They broke the hug, and Hinata walked towards the rest of her group, who were already standing inside the circle of seals. Begin the teleportation process, Takuya commanded. The Hyugas and moon acolytes placed around the circle of seals brought their hands together and started to channel chakra into the circle. The seals started to glow with a white and blue light, and in a bright flash, they were gone. The teleportation has been a success, Takuya announced. Now, all we can do is pray that they succeed in their endeavor. Good to hear that, Jiraiya said with a nod. Now that that's out of the way, we can focus on the war here. I think it's about time for the army of the Ninja Alliance to gather. Turtle Island, after a night of sleep followed by some light sparring with Killer Bee, Naruto, and Fu, were in front of the Falls of Truth once again. They weren't sitting on the lake's small island, though. After the experience in the mental world, the sight of the waterfall induced them a sense of respect that they lacked before. While Naruto paced around, trying to think in strategies that would help him deal with his dark half, Fu was sitting at the edge of the lake, skipping stones across it. So, if we go beforehand and booby-trap the arena, Naruto wondered aloud, even if he was talking to himself. No, they would see through that. For some reason, they know what we're going to do before we even do it. How about switching opponents? Fu suggested, as she tossed another stone across the lake's surface, bouncing many times until it sank with a splash. Your evil twin won't know what I will do or how to counter it. I don't think they'll let us, Naruto said, shaking his head. Besides, wouldn't be that like cheating? How so? Fu asked, turning her head at the blonde. Well, we're supposed to fight them ourselves, Naruto said. Imagine if we had to do this alone. We wouldn't be able to rely on the other for help. Meaning that, even if we fight together, we'll have to beat our respective dark sides ourselves. Yeah, guess that makes sense, Fu admitted, as she dejectedly tossed another stone. This one bounced fewer times before it sank. Should we ask B for tips? I already did, Naruto replied. He said it's different for everybody, and that we need to figure it out ourselves. Poop, Fu childishly said, before tossing yet another stone. I think we aren't taking the right approach, Naruto pondered, as he rested his chin under his hand. These guys are the embodiment of our inner darkness. They can't be beaten through brute strength alone. The question is, how do we beat our inner darkness? By being kind? Fu offered, though she sounded unsure. Because that's all what I have. Suddenly, a realization dawned upon Naruto. Wait, that's it. Of course we've been doing this all wrong, the blonde said, excited. We can't beat our inner darkness with violence, but with kindness. We need to show them that we're stronger than them not because of our fists or jutsu, but because they have no power over us. That makes a lot of sense, Fu agreed. A grin developed on her lips. Come on, let's do it. Yeah. Both Naruto and Fu sat once again on the small island, adopted the lotus position, and closed their eyes. Soon, their minds were no longer inside their bodies, but on another plane of reality. A few minutes later, turn out that wasn't the way to beat them, Naruto said, tiredly lying on the grass. Yeah. We should have guessed that being our dark sides and all that, they would use our kindness to backstab us, Fu lamented, also lying down on the grass. You know, at least it's a good thing that our friends from the mental world didn't remember the previous day. Or else they'd be mad at us for walking on them the first time at the restaurant. Guess that, since they don't really exist, they don't have long-term memory, Naruto concluded, before letting out a sigh. Back to square one. You know, I have the feeling that we're missing something, Fu said, standing up and walking towards the edge of the lake. Yeah, I have that feeling too, Naruto replied. And I've never been one to solve mysteries. Hinata Haim and Haku always got that part covered. Same with me and my Shino. He's so smart I'm sure that he could figure this out in an instant, Fu said, kicking the water lazily. Maybe we could ask his other counterpart. But given how much he talks I don't think he'll even let me do the question to begin with. Well, we could try Dash, Naruto began, before suddenly going silent. His eyes grew big as a smile developed on his face as a realization dawned upon him. Hey, that's it. If we can't do it alone, then we can ask others for help. Wait, I thought you said that was cheating, Fu replied. It may be, but I think it's the key to everything, Naruto said, his excitement growing by the moment. Suddenly I remembered something the evil me said. Come on. Naruto then pulled Fu by the wrist and dragged her towards the island in the middle. Whoa. Calm down. I can walk on my own. Fu protested, shaking her wrist free. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Let's do the same thing we did during the first time, but when we're at the restaurant, follow my lead, okay? Naruto asked. You got it, Fu said with a nod. Naruto and Fu sat beside each other in the lotus position on the small island, and closed their eyes. Soon, their Minda abandoned their bodies and traveled to a different world. Mental world once again, Naruto woke up in his bedroom, or the equivalent of his bedroom, inside the mental world. This time, he merely bid his mother a quick good morning, had a nice breakfast, and headed outside. After creating a clone and send it to look for Fu, Naruto headed towards his team's training grounds. Just like he expected, the rest of his teammates were there. Hey there, handsome, Hinata said, using the same seductive tone as in the same time. Naruto, however, knew that that sweetness was actually a honey trap. I was afraid you wouldn't come. What took you so long? Sorry babe, I had a dream with you and I didn't want to wake up, Naruto said, giving her a peck on the lips. But then I thought that having the real one between my arms would be better. Hinata's face turned beet red, as she averted her eyes and her lips formed a wide smile. Oh, Naruto-kun, you always know what to say to make me feel special. Well, that reaction is more Hinata-like, Naruto thought. He then looked at Haku, who was impatiently waiting for the two lovebirds to stop greeting each other and get on with the training. Hey Haku, looking good. Have you been working out on your own? The ice ninja beamed upon hearing the compliment. He then suppressed the smile and tried to turn it into a smug grin. Yeah, I did. Of course you noticed, didn't you? Hee hee, it's hard not to. Naruto chuckled. Say, how about a one-on-one? I want to test how strong you've become. You're on. Haku eagerly said. Kurenai shook her head, but chuckled in mild amusement. Well, it seems that the boys are fired up today. Do you want to spar against me, Hinata? I guess I have no other choice, the Hyuga said with a shrug. And thus, the training began. While Hinata fought against Kurenai, Naruto faced Haku. Naruto made sure to compliment the ice ninja and to measure his own attacks, careful not to hurt the poor guy's fragile ego. After an hour or so, Hinata requested a change, and Naruto went to spar with her. This time, however, he decided that the aggressive Hyuga wouldn't appreciate if he held back against her. Which wasn't a very good idea either, since whenever Naruto landed a solid hit, Hinata would moan and gush about how strong Naruto was. Geez, let's hope the real Hinata isn't a masochist deep down, Naruto thought, cringing a little. After the second sparring matches, Kurenai decided it was time for some teamwork exercises. Something Naruto was extra careful with, and made sure they went down without a hitch. When the sun was at its highest, Kurenai decided to stop. Today has been a pretty productive training. You guys appear to be extra motivated. Good work, you three, the raven-haired woman praised. Her three students nodded and smiled proudly. Say, how about we meet again after lunch? In the meantime, I'll see if there are any missions for us to do. As you say, Kurenai-sensei, Naruto nodded, as he saw his sensei walking away. So, you guys want to eat? Because I'm starving. Yeah, me too, Haku agreed. Ikarakus? Sounds good, but I feel like eating with more people, you know? It's been a while since we did that, Naruto suggested. I could send the clones to our former classmates, and have all of them meet us at Yakiniku-Q. The place is pretty big. We almost never eat with our former classmates, Hinata pointed out. What's the occasion? Yeah, I can see why, Naruto inwardly deadpanned. I dunno. I feel like having a big meal with everybody else. You seem to be in a very good mood today, Naruto, Haku pointed out. Did something good happen to you today? What, can't I just happen to be in a good mood? Naruto replied, though trying not to sound too defensive. Hinata wrapped her arms around the blonde. If you're so happy today, I won't be the one to sour your mood. We'll eat with the others if that's what you want. Heh, I knew I could count on you, Haim, Naruto replied, smiling. An hour later, Yakiniku-Q just like the time before, the first team to arrive was Team Kakashi, with Fu in tow. And like the last time, Shino was telling his day to Fu. Before Kiba was slammed against a tree. Our training has been pretty good. Kiba and Tamaki didn't fight as much as they usually do, and guess what? When Kiba smashed his face against that tree, it broke its bark, and I managed to found several green beetles lurking underneath. Did you know that green beetles are extremely rare in the land of fire? And speaking of rare, I hope that this time they don't burn my order, since I only like medium. Naruto, sitting between Hinata and Fu, could see how both ladies were starting to grow exasperated, and just like before, Hinata was ready to tear the Aburane's head apart with her bare hands. However, before that could happen, he leaned onto Fu and whispered into her ear. Hey, I know that you prefer to be the one to talks rather than the one who listens, but could you try to humor Shino just this time? Naruto told Fu. What? Are you kidding me? Fu whispered back in shock. I know, but this is part of my plan. Trust me, if everything goes well, this will be of a huge help later, Naruto reassured her. Hey, what the hell are you two ciphering? Hinata screeched. If you say so, Fu said, unsure of what her fellow Jinchuriki was planning, but decided to play along. She turned at her not boyfriend, and smiled. That sounds mostly interesting, Shino. Can you tell me more about those new beetles you found? A huge smile developed on Shino's face. Seeing the normally stoic Aburame, the real one at least, making such a display was unsettling to the point of creepiness. Really? Wow, nobody really ever told me that. Shino excitedly said. He gathered his thoughts and started his explanation. You see, these kind of beetles usually live in areas with a very specific climatological constituents, which happen mostly in the R between the land of waterfall and Shino continued to talk non-stop, though he seemed to address solely Fu rather than everybody else, much to their collective relief. Still, Naruto knew that he wasn't out of hot water yet, since he had to address his temperamental and jealousy-prone not-girlfriend. I was telling Fu that he should try to listen to her boyfriend a little more, Naruto said in a reassuring tone. Sorry if I made it look like something different. Hinata glared at him, but her scowl disappeared. It seemed she accepted the explanation. Well, given that she's his girlfriend, it should be her job to listen to that chatterbox of a boyfriend, and let he rest of us in peace. The door of the restaurant opened again, and like it happened before, Shizen's medical squad entered. Hello there, ladies, your man Sasuke is here. Sasuke said, winking at Hinata, Tamaki, and Fu just like he did before. And seeing it again didn't make it any less jarring. You don't need to fight for me, there's enough Sasuke for everybody. Don't begin. Sakura chastised. You know, if you dedicated half the time you spend trying to get on every girl's pants to become a better ninja, you would be Jonin already. Come on, you need to relax a little, and enjoy the finer pleasures of life, Sasuke said, as he tried to put an arm around Sakura, which she quickly pushed away. If you weren't so obsessed with training and being a better ninja so much, people would like you better. Sasuke, I think Sakura is right, Naruto interceded. Plus your constant flirting makes many of the girls here uncomfortable. Try to rein your impulses in. Ha! Sakura laughed, emboldened by the blonde's support. I told you I wasn't the only one to think like that. Thanks for agreeing with me, Naruto. I knew a ninja of your skill would see that I'm the one in the right. Though, even if I find admirable how much time and effort you put into being a better ninja, nobody is forced to follow your pace, Naruto added. There are other things in life besides training and missions. Like friends and having fun. Heh, I knew my man Naruto wouldn't let me down. Sasuke replied, now being the one emboldened. Naruto cringed upon hearing the Uchiha calling him his man. You had to, otherwise you wouldn't be dating that blue-haired wild beast. Wanna see how much of a wild beast I am, Uchiha? Hinata seethed, as she activated her Byakugan for added emphasis. Naruto merely grabbed Hinata's hand, and the temperamental Hyuga quickly calmed down. Please, let's try to eat in peace, Fu intervened, briefly pausing his conversation with Shino. There's no peace in such a place of death and blood like this one, Karen grimly said. Come on Karen, I'm sure that there are places far worse than a mere barbecue restaurant, Fu said, before the redhead could go on a gloomy and long-winded rant. Plus, we all know you love meat. Karen wanted to say something in response, but she merely shrugged and sat down. Alas, disarmed before I could even begin an argument. Like a little chick tragically killed before it can grow up into an eagle and learn to fly. That seemed to be the end of it. Though Naruto knew that his job was only halfway done. And the next challenge appeared when Asuma's tactical squad entered the restaurant, with Choji and Shikamaru arguing about something, and Ino trying and failing to play the peacekeeper. Why did you drag me to this place? Choji complained. You know I hate the food they serve here. It's not just for the food, But all our friends are here, Shikamaru said. Why do you have to act as if you're better than everybody else? I'm not acting like I'm better than anybody else. I just expressed my dislike of this restaurant, Choji insisted. You know, your inferiority complex can be quite grating at times. Who are you calling inferior dash, now, let's not fight, okay? Ino softly asked, placing a hand on each of the boys' shoulder. All of our friends are here, let's try to have a good time. Come on guys, Ino is right, Naruto interceded, much to the Yamanaka's gratitude. You just entered here. You can't have such a shitty attitude. Easy for you to say. Nobody is forcing you to go to a restaurant specialized in food you don't like, Choji replied, crossing his arms indignantly. That's because nobody feeds exclusively on salad and egg yolk like you do, Choji, Shikamaru said, rolling his eyes. You know, Choji, while this is a barbecue restaurant, they do have salads and other kind of dishes low on fat or with no meat, Naruto pointed out. The Fitakimichi was taken aback. They do? You can check the menu if you don't believe me, Naruto said, handing it to Choji. Come on man, you aren't going to die if you don't eat salad one day, Shikamaru protested. Hey, let Choji eat what he wants, Fu interceded. In what way does whatever he eats affects you? I just wanted to enjoy himself once in a while, that's it, Shikamaru said defensively. Maybe he enjoys eating healthier food. Haven't you think of that? Naruto asked. Thank you, Choji said, giving Shikamaru a dirty eye. Now, let's stop arguing. People here seems to be in a good mood today. Let's relax and have some fun, okay? Ino asked. Both Shikamaru and Choji wordlessly nodded, and the three of them sat alongside the rest of their former classmates. Naruto couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Well, one more team to go. Fortunately, this one shouldn't be too hard, the blonde thought, just moments before the restaurant door opened once again, and the last members of the Not Konoha 15, guys close combat squad, made their presence known. Tenten-chan. Haku jumped upon seeing his girlfriend, rushed towards her, and gave her a very passionate kiss. Hey everybody, my girlfriend is here. Yeah, I have a girlfriend. And I wouldn't if I wasn't so manly. Now, Haku-kun, we talked about this, didn't we? Tenten said in a mildly chastising but very gentle tone. If you let your insecurities rule your life, you shall never be happy. You need to learn to look inside, and find your inner beauty and strength. Which is what I did. You should listen to your girlfriend, Haku, Fu chimed in. She likes you for what you are, not for what you're pretending to be. See? Everybody else also thinks I'm right, Tenten said, before turning her head at Fu and nodding in gratitude. I guess so. Sorry, I kind of forget about that, Haku replied, rubbing the back of his head. His enthusiasm didn't disappear, though. Come on, sit beside me. So, tell me, how was your day? You've been training, yes? Haku asked. I've been training in my medical arts. Because why harm when you can heal? It's much more rewarding, Tenten replied. Despite not being the first time he heard it, it was still weird for Naruto to reconcile the real Tenten with this one. My teammates haven't trained either. Lee has been all the time sleeping under a tree, and I bet Niji has been using his Byakugan to watch other girls' underwear. Tenten, you goddamn tattletale. Why do you have to tell them that? Niji protested, before realizing what he just said. I mean how do you know I was peeping on girls? You were focused on your book all the time, you couldn't tell what I was doing. You were standing in the same spot for 2 hours straight, and you chuckled perversely from time to time, Tenten replied. One doesn't need to be a genius to know what you were doing. She's right, Niji, Lee added. Shut up. You were asleep the whole time. How can you tell if she's right or not? Niji protested again. How can you waste the time sleeping like that, Lee? Shikamaru intervened. You should use that time to train so you can soar to new heights. Man, if I only had a quarter of the talent you possess, with my hard work I'll be Konoha's top ninja. Eh, it's too tiresome. Why train when you're as strong as I am? Lee said with a shrug. Though Naruto could tell he wasn't really boasting, his laziness was really irritating Shikamaru. Besides, we're living in an age of peace. It's not like we're going to be needed for any future conflict. That's irrelevant. Hard work is a reward on itself. The satisfaction of achieving something with the sweat of your brow. Of moving forward. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Enough. Naruto yelled, raising his voice above everybody else. A deafening silence fell upon them, as they stared at the blonde in both fear and awe. His eyes rested on Neji first. Neji, your behavior has no excuse. Ha! You tell him, Naruto-kun. Hinata boasted, though Naruto ignored her. And Lee, no matter how strong you think you are, training, even just a little, is a must for a ninja, Naruto told him. You don't have to train your body to death, but enough to keep yourself in shape. Remember that we don't work alone, the lives of our comrades depend on us. Oh, I haven't realized that, Lee said, sounding a little ashamed. Thanks for agreeing with me, Naruto. I knew you would, Shikamaru said with a nod. Don't think you're in the right here, Shikamaru, Naruto said, as he turned towards the Nara heir. I find your dedication to training and being a better ninja encomiable, but like I said before, not everybody needs to spend every second they have training. Let everybody spend their free time as they see fit. Don't go imposing on others. Shikamaru wanted to protest, but found himself disarmed of any argument. Yeah, you're right. That wasn't very nice of me, was it? Hey, it's okay, just don't do it again, Naruto replied, smiling reassuringly. Now come on, let's sit, eat, talk, and have a good time. Unlike the first time they were there, the meeting didn't devolve into a cacophony of screaming contests. And whenever it threatened to, Naruto and sometimes Fu were quick to play the peacekeeper role before things could escalate. But overall, everybody ate in peace and had a very good time. Now that Naruto had finally set the proper mood, it was about time to set his plan in motion. He hoped that it would work. Hey everybody, may I have your attention? Naruto asked, as he stood up. Everybody dropped what they were doing, and looked at him. Let's say, Fu and I had a little Jinchuriki problem, and we were hoping that you could help us with it, Forest of Death. That night, just like they did the previous times, Naruto and Fu landed on the arena marked by a circle of lit torches. Unlike the other times, their dark counterparts were already there, rather than waiting to make a dramatic entrance. Hey look, they came back for more, Dark Naruto chuckled. You guys think third time's the charm? So, what's going to be this time? Dark Fu jeered. Because boy, trying to befriend us the last time was so fucking gold. That's going to be hard to top. You know Naruto, he thinks he can talk his enemies into surrendering and being friends, Dark Naruto said, shaking his head. Yeah, that was dumb on my part, trying to be kind to the literal embodiment of my evil, Naruto admitted. That's why we decided to go back to the first idea and give you a good-ass whooping. Their dark counterparts merely chuckled. Well, it works for us, said Dark Fu said with an evil grin, as she cracked her knuckles. Dark Naruto, meanwhile, made the tiger seal. Though this time, let's skip the warm-up and jump directly into the fun. 9 Masked Beasts. A massive mandala appeared behind Dark Naruto, with 9 kanjis inside 9 rings, arrayed in a cross pattern. The circled kanji started to glow, turning into portals that summoned the creatures that Dark Naruto had used during their previous fight. Come on, I'd love to see what kind of strategy you guys came up with in order to desperately close the gigantic gap between you and us, Dark Naruto chuckled. Attack! The 9 masked monsters all lunged at Naruto and Fu, who made no effort to dodge or defend, much to their dark counterparts' bemusement. Not just that, but they looked fairly confident in their chances. That moment, Naruto quickly made an arm wave. Vacuum palm wall. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Ice release, testosterone blizzard. The 9 charging monsters were hit by a destructive wave of fire, ice, and vacuum that resulted in multiple blasts that knocked them backwards. It wasn't enough to put them down for good, but the attack did some serious harm to them. What? Dark Naruto asked in shock. Just how? You can come out, guys. Fu called, clapping her hands twice. That moment, the rest of the alternate Konoha 15 left their hiding spots and landed beside Naruto and Fu. All of them were in fighting stances, ready to battle. What? You brought those guys into the battle? Dark Fu asked in shock. But you can't do that. That's cheating. Says who? The green-haired girl challenged. The fact that they can stay here and that their attacks can harm you tells me that we can use their help to take you down. Otherwise, the waterfall wouldn't allow it. What was that thing you told me during our first encounter? That they were as real as you are? Naruto asked in a mocking tone. Thanks for the advice, by the way. Dark Naruto didn't say anything in response. He merely gritted his teeth and growled something inaudible. So these are the guys you told us about? Hinata asked. Your dark sides? Yep, that's them, Naruto confirmed. That raises a lot of questions, Shino began. Like how they came to exist, for starters. Were they always living inside you, or did they exist as separate entities? Do we need to kill them, or should we keep them alive in order to seal them back into the originals? The metaphysical implications to such Fu stopped Shino's rambling by placing a finger on his lips. Shino, honey, forget about irrelevant questions. Just help us beat them. That's all we need to do. Okay. But I want an explanation after this is over, Shino demanded. So, Hinata, ready to take down the evil me? Naruto asked his not-girlfriend. Ah, but he just looks like you. Such a handsome face. I don't think I can't bring myself to hurt him when he looks so much like you, Hinata said with a somewhat dramatic pout. In that case, try to imagine he did something that infuriated you, Naruto said. Maybe a version of me who cheated on you with Sakura. Hinata didn't have to picture such scenario in her mind in order to make her blood boil. You're so fucking dead. Hinata bellowed, as she activated her Byakugan and leaped at the black-haired Naruto. Hinata, wait, oh shit, she's going to get herself killed, Naruto said, shaking his head. Everybody else, attack. The rest of the alternate Konoha 15 members leaped into the nascent battle. The 9 masked beasts had completely recovered and rushed to aid their masters. However, both Dark Naruto and Dark Fu knew that they no longer held the advantage in this battle. Naruto and Fu had found the key to victory. Shit, there's no way we can beat so many people. Dark Fu said in panic. She turned at her partner in crime. What are we going to do? For the time being, fight. These guys don't matter. If we can kill Naruto and Fu, victory will be ours. Dark Naruto said, as he charged forwards while creating an army of shadow clones, with Dark Fu reluctantly following him. Try to focus on those creatures while we take care of our evil selves. Naruto told the alternate version of his friends. Though if you can lend us a hand against them, we would appreciate it a lot. Fu added. And thus, the huge battle began. Fu deployed her wings in an attempt to fly above the incoming army and reach her evil counterpart, but was stopped when a piece of cloth tightly wrapped against her legs and pulled her down. It was one of those masked beings, the one who looked like a priestess. That's it, until a swarm of angry beetles descended and bit the cloth until it was cut, releasing the green-haired girl. Thank you, Shino. Fu said, giving her not-boyfriend a thumbs up. Anything for you. Now go and kick that fake's ass. Shino encouraged her. Though, if you're as strong as she is, how are you? Shino was interrupted when one of the masked creatures, shaped like a strange bird, swooped at him. The Aburame was forced to jump back. Waving his arms, he commanded his swarm to attack the incoming bird. However, it flapped its wings at a fast pace, creating a powerful gale that blew most of Shino's insects away. My beetles are of no use here. Shino said no one in particular, as he took a step back while pulling a kunai. What should I do to defend myself from this nefarious beast? Alas, I must think how before the bird could skewer him with its talons, it was sent back flying by a powerful punch coming from a giant fist. The next second, Choji landed beside Shino. You know, you could have asked for help instead of going into an aimless ramble, Choji told Shino, before going after another enemy. At another side of the battleground, two of Dark Naruto's masked creatures, who looked like monks wielding fox-shaped staves, had trapped Ino, Niji, and Kiba inside a purple chakra barrier powered by seals. Kiba and Niji tried to break it by slashing it and hitting it with gentle fist strikes, but to no avail. What the hell this barrier is made of? Kiba angrily cursed, as he continued delivering swipes. Guys, watch out! Ino warned, pointing to one side. The three ninja could see the scythe-wielding being leaped at them, and reared its scythe back, which started to glow with chakra. Can its attacks bypass the barrier? Kiba asked incredulously. So it seems, Niji said, as he prepared to take the hit. However, just before the creature could attack, several chains wrapped around its body, immobilizing it completely, before he was violently launched against a tree. The chains then retracted back into their caster, Karen. Following that moment, Tamaki rushed towards them, followed by Akamaru. Come on Akamaru, let's save my boyfriend. Tamaki happily shouted. And Ino and Niji, I guess. Fawn passing fawn. Tamaki and Akamaru turned into living drills and lunged at the two staff-wielding masked men, who were forced to jump back, undoing the barrier in the process. Thank you, Tamaki, I got them now. Ino said, pointing her hands at them. Mind disturbance jutsu. The masked creatures were paralyzed on the spot. They struggled to break free, but they were unable to overcome Ino's mind control. 8 trigrams, 64 plams. Niji dashed towards the twin enemies, ready to unleash his most powerful combo. 2 strikes. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. 16 strikes. Friday 2 strikes. 64 strikes. He finished the combo with a double palm hit in opposite directions, sending the two creatures flying away, until they crashed against a tree each. 3 down, Ino said, pleased, before turning at Karen. Thanks for your help, Karen-san. Your timing was impeccable. Whatever, the goth redhead said. Oh Kiba-kun, I was so worried when those meanies got you. Tamaki said, as she rushed towards her beloved. Don't worry my love. Not even death itself can keep us apart for long. Kiba replied. Of course, because I love you so much. Tamaki replied. No, I love you more. 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 The two of them started to passionately kiss each other, only stopping to breathe and exchange even more compliments, and to claim who loved the other more. Though in hindsight, I should have let that creature kill Kiba at the very least, Karen deadpanned. Neither Niji nor Ino could disagree with her. Niji, however, perked up when his Byakugan picked up something. Over there. Watch out. Niji warned. Suddenly, a group of a dozen Dark Naruto clones leaped at them, each wielding different weapons, ready to strike. However, before they could, a green blur intercepted them. Konoha Whirlwind. The green blur, who was Rock Lee, delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to the clones. Even if he really didn't hit any, the kick carried so much force, it created a powerful shockwave that instantly dispelled the clones. The shockwave expanded into every direction, shattering nearby tree branches and leaving deep gashes on the surrounding trees, resulting in a rain of shards of bark and sliced leaves before landing in front of Niji, Ino, Kiba, and Tamaki. The latter two were oblivious to what happened as they continued with their makeout session. "Wow, that was amazing," Ino said in awe. Suddenly, Lee dashed towards Ino and reared his fist back, ready to punch the surprised blonde. However, rather than her face, his fist passed her left ear. Even if he did punch thin air, the punch carried so much force it created another shockwave, which blasted another of Dark Naruto's masked creatures, this one looking like a cross between a dragon and a seahorse, the force of the shockwave violently lunging it against a tree, which was snapped in two. Thank you, Lee Kun," the shocked blonde stammered. "There, I did it, I contributed to the fight," Lee wearily said. "Can I go home now? I'm tired." "Not now, Lee," another voice said, as Tenten calmly walked to the group. She made several hand seals, before slamming her hand into the ground. Sealing art, safe zone. A circle of seals formed around the group, as they started to glow with a green light. All the Konoha ninjas inside the circle were surrounded by a green healing aura that started to restore their forces. "While I abhor fighting, I can still help you with my jutsu. If you're tired or injured, you can rest inside my safe zone," Tenten helpfully explained. Meanwhile, Dark Fu was in the middle of fighting her good counterpart, Sasuke and Shikamaru. Shadow Binding Jutsu. Shikamaru made a hand seal, as he sent his shadow in the form of multiple tendrils to catch Dark Fu. If this enemy is as strong as Fu, then it's going to be a fight worth remembering. I'm so pumped right now. Shikamaru's excitement caused his shadow tendrils to grow larger and travel faster, making Dark Fu's attempt to dodge them all the harder. "Goddammit, I preferred you when you were a lazy ass," the black-haired girl complained. She was then alerted by the sound of 1,000 birds chirping. Looking around, she saw Sasuke diving at her with his hand coated in electricity. Chidori. Before she could be impaled, Dark Fu managed to grab his wrist and, using his own momentum, tossing him against a tree. However, Sasuke was able to land on his feet. "The hell? How do you know how to use Kakashi's jutsu?" Dark Fu asked, incredulous. "Interested? How about if you let me treat you to dinner tonight at a fancy place, and I tell you?" Sasuke asked, as he winked at her in a suggestive fashion. "Goddammit Uchiha, that's the embodiment of my inner darkness you're trying to flirt with," the real Fu protested. Sasuke merely shrugged. "Hey, I don't judge anybody. Especially not pretty girls. And given that you have rejected all my advances for Shino's sake of all people, you can't blame me for trying my luck with your lovely doppelganger. The black hair and red eyes combo makes a nice contrast. Very Uchiha-like. That's a sign meaning that we belong with each other. Fu is right, you can continue your inane flirting once we're done with this." Shikamaru hotly shouted, as he changed his hand seal. Shadow Sewing Jutsu. The shadow threads emerged from the ground, forming sharp edges, as they tried to impale the evil Jinchuriki. She deployed her wings and tried to evade them by gaining some altitude, but that's what Sasuke was expecting. The moment Dark Fu took off, he leaped at her from his standing point, ready to impale her with another Chidori. "Sorry beautiful, but no pretty girl escapes the Uchiha sex god," Sasuke cooed, winking at her again. Dark Fu managed to spin around herself and successfully avoid the electrical attack aimed at her gut. But by doing so, she left her wings exposed, which took the brunt of Sasuke's jutsu, and were instantly shattered. As a result, Dark Fu pummeled to the ground. "My wings." "No," she cried, before crashing down with a thud. She rubbed the spot where her wings used to be. "Ow, this is going to hurt tomorrow. It ain't going to hurt more than this, I can assure you as much." Fu shouted from above. Dark Fu looked up and saw Fu diving at her, the giant oak log between her hands, like a meteor made of wood. Given her speed, dodging was impossible. Oh sure dash, the giant log slammed into Dark Fu, resulting in an explosion of earth and dirt, opening up a massive crater, and most importantly, ending Dark Fu's existence. Meanwhile, Dark Naruto was trying to evade Hinata's aggressive assault. He tried to put some distance and counterattack, but the angry Hyuga wouldn't let him any time to breathe. She was relentless in her attack, each blow carrying loads of anger. What the hell, is this Hinata's dark side or what? How is she so goddamn brutal? Dark Naruto said, as he tried to evade her blows. Heh, I doubt the real Hinata is that vicious, Naruto chuckled, mostly to himself. Minions, to me. Dark Naruto called. However, no help came. Half of his masked creatures have already been destroyed, and the remaining few were busy fighting against the alternate Konoha 15. Dark Naruto noticed this, much to his desperations. Minions, come to me this instant, he yelled. Shut up already, a new female voice said. Between dodging Hinata and trying to locate his minions, Dark Naruto didn't notice Sakura getting closer. When he turned around, he saw the Pinkette's fist a few centimeters from his face, before it impacted, sending the black-haired Jinchuriki flying, and crashed against a tree. The evil doppelganger said, coughing some blood, while trying to stand up. That Wasu? Ice release, iceberg of manliness. Just as he was standing up, ice and frost started to quickly gather around the evil Jinchuriki, encasing him inside a block of ice, leaving only his head exposed. What the hell? Dark Naruto yelled. You have been trapped inside my iceberg of manliness. Do you know why I call it that? Because you need to be manlier than I am to break out of it. Haku boasted, waving his arms in a taunting fashion. And since you can't break it, that means I'm manlier than you are. How does that feel, huh? 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 But Dark Naruto had no time to address Haku's boasts, as he heard an horrible, whirring noise. Looking in the direction of the noise, Dark Naruto saw his good counterpart, in Sage mode, flanked by a couple of clones and a Raisin Shuriken above his head. Good job guys, I'll deal the finishing blow. Naruto told the others. No, no, and no. This can't be happening. You can't beat me. You can't. Naruto's evil counterpart yelled. You're right. I can't beat you. Not alone, at the very least, Naruto admitted. But guess what? I don't need to beat you alone. I don't need to beat any of my enemies alone. I used to think that I had to protect everyone, all by myself. And that it was my fault if things went wrong and people I cared for died. But guess what? I can let others protect me as well. As long as I have them, I won't have to face my darkness alone. So that's it, huh? You're going to let others do the heavy lifting. You're an useless brat that can never succeed on his own, so he needs to go crying to others for help. You can't win unless somebody else helps you. Dark Naruto screeched, both out of anger, but also in an attempt to escape his predicament. That's the beauty of it. Alone, we are weak, but together, we're strong, Naruto replied. Power might give you strength to do things on your own, but love allows you to join your strength with those of others, and form part of something greater than you are. Not that I expect you to understand it. Now die already. Wind release, Raisin Shuriken. The chakra shuriken flew at the trapped evil clone, resulting in an explosion of razor-sharp wind gusts that destroyed him almost instantly. When the dome was finally dispelled, there was nothing left but a crater. Dark Naruto was no more. Naruto! Fu shouted, as she landed beside him. Hey, you did it. You also destroyed your evil side. So, does that mean that you also won? Naruto asked. Fu nodded vigorously. Awesome. So, what do we do now? Fu asked. Should we dash? there was a bright flash of white light that blinded the two Jinchuriki and made them feel dizzy. When the light vanished, they were back in front of the Falls of Truth. Upon realizing that they had passed the test, the two Jinchuriki got up on their feet, cheered, hugged each other. Something Naruto regretted since Fu was hugging way too hard. They stopped hugging upon noticing that they weren't alone. Killer Bee was watching them from the edge of the lake, arms crossed, and a smile of satisfaction on his face. "Congratulations, you two. I knew there was some spunk in you," Killer Bee told them. "To fight the beasts you're now ready, for your soul and mind are steady. Though, I feel I need to ask, are you ready for the coming task?" "Yeah," Naruto cheered. "Bring it on, Octopops." "Me too. I feel like I can do anything." Fu agreed. Killer Bee merely nodded. Though, even if they passed the first test, he couldn't help but wonder if these kids had what it takes to tame a tailed beast. Especially one as vicious as the Nine Tails. He'd find the answer soon. In that case, follow me. Before Killer Bee would bring Naruto and Fu towards the place where they would tame their tailed beasts, Naruto decided to bring Tenzo and the third Hokage, given that they had the means to stop them if they lost control of their tailed beasts in the process and the worst came to happen, would release and tailed beast chakra suppressing seals, respectively. The rest of their escort team would watch the entrance just to be sure. Said entrance happened to be behind the waterfall. When they crossed the water curtain, the Konoha ninjas and one Taki Kunoichi all gasped upon seeing what was behind the water. Instead of a small cave leading to some kind of sealed room, there was a massive chamber, its roof being dozens of meters high. It was so big, it could probably house a small village. There was a large temple with 5 tall towers at the end of the gigantic chamber, and a painting of the 8 tails and the 2 tails firing a tailed beast ball against each other. There were 2 rows of beheaded statues that formed a hallway towards the temple's entrance. "Here we are, the Tailed Beast Temple, a very special place. It will be here where the tailed beasts you two will face," Killer Bee started to rap. "What's so special about this place? Can't Naruto-kun and Fu-san attempt to control their tailed beasts anywhere else?" the third Hokage asked. "The temple is special, yes, it's a security measure. If the Jinchuriki falls," Killer Bee explained. "If the beasts attempt to escape, they will be held inside these walls." "Of course. With a place like this, a Jinchuriki can train without endangering other lives and let the tailed beast out," Tenzo agreed. "If only we had a place like this in Konoha. Maybe with some time and enough fuinjutsu, Dad and I can cook up something," Naruto offered. "Though sadly it will have to wait until the war is over." "We're here," Killer Bee announced. They reached to the entrance of the temple, a very large gate with an sculpture of the 2 tails head with its jaws opened. The Kumo Jinchuriki introduced his arm into the mouth and activated a hidden switch inside. The gate slowly slided open. "Whoa," Naruto said, looking at the room. "What is this place?" Fu asked. Because the room that had been opened didn't look like a room at all. It was more like a vast, endless space that spread in every direction. There was no floor or walls, just a sky of multiple colors. "Come on, no time to waste, get into the chamber, make haste," Killer Bee urged them as he entered the room. Apparently, there was a solid floor, even if it couldn't be seen. The 3 Konoha ninjas and 1 Taki Kunoichi followed the rapper inside. "It's time to begin. Who's going to be the first to go in?" Naruto looked at Fu and smiled at her weakly. "Ladies first." Actually, Fu began, rubbing her arm, uneasy. "I feel a little nervous. Would you mind going first? I'd be more at ease after seeing you doing it." "I'm scared as hell too," Naruto admitted. "But guess we're not going anywhere unless one of us take the first step." "Okay, I'll do it." A sigh of relief escaped Fu. Killer Bee nodded in approval. He made a hand seal, and the gate closed with a loud boom, leaving all of them trapped inside the room. Now there's no danger to the outside world if the 9 tails breaks free. Of course we would die, but it's the better option, don't you agree? Killer Bee rapped as he sat down, action which was mimicked by Naruto. The two of them bumped fists and closed their eyes. Okay, this is the plan. Let's face the nine tails. I'll guide you as best as I can. Understood, Naruto said with a nod. Nine Tails seal. When Naruto opened his eyes, he was no longer inside the tailed beast temple, but in front of the massive gates that held the giant fox. It seemed the beast hadn't noticed Naruto's presence yet. So, you're already in, that's swell, Naruto heard Killer Bee's voice rap. The first step is to remove the seal. But be careful, the fox won't be ain't quell. Got it, Naruto replied with a nod. Though before I do, let's do some preparations. The blonde sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. Despite the fact that he was inside a mental world, Naruto could still feel nature energy around him. He gathered as much as he could, before deciding it was enough. He also left a clone back, continuing gathering nature energy, just in case. Then, he walked towards the gate, and when he reached it, the water around his feet formed a spiraling tower that pushed him upwards, so he could reach the paper seal holding the door easily. "HM? Who's there?" the Nine Tails grumbled, as Naruto heard his body shift. He sounded like if he just woke up from a nap. "Who's there?" "Really?" Naruto asked, a bit incredulous. "Does somebody besides me pays you any visit without my knowledge, furball?" "You?" the fox asked, sounding surprised. "But you feel different. Wait, what happened to your true self? You mean the guy with the pitch black hair and glowing red eyes?" "That's more the edgy me, to be honest," Naruto casually answered, as he removed the seal protecting the gate, revealing its intricate lock. "Though to answer your question, I gave him quite the ass beating. You should have seen it. The Nine Tails can't feel your darkness, that's great, but don't get confident, he has more weapons than your hate," Killer Bee said. Naruto then removed both his jacket and mesh shirt, tossing them away. The double tetragram seal appeared on his gut, while the key to the seal appeared on his hand. Naruto placed the key on the seal, and turned it like it was a doorknob. "What are you doing?" the Nine Tails asked, irritated. The lock on the cage started to undo itself, first slowly, but progressively faster, ending with a final loud click. The moment Naruto heard that, the Nine Tails slammed the gates open, hurling the blonde backwards, landing on the wet floor on his back. "Ouch, I don't know what you're pretending to do," the Nine Tails growled, as he exited his cell. "But this is the last mistake you'll ever make in your short and inane life. Naruto, get up, no time to sleep, if you fail now, you'll make all of us weep," Killer Bee urged. Naruto jumped back on his feet, just to see the behemoth of a fox angrily charging at him. However, before he could get any closer, multiple maroon-colored tentacles broke the ground below him and wrapped themselves around the giant fox, leaving him completely immobilized. "Don't worry, Naruto, I can give you a hand. I'll make sure no attack of the Nine Tails ever lands," Killer Bee rapped. "Duki, you goddamn traitor," the Nine Tails growled as he struggled against the tentacles. "Now, Naruto, pull his chakra into your body, but be quick, these tentacles are a bit shoddy, and the Nine Tails may escape my grip, and that won't be very hip," Killer Bee advised. "Though when your chakras are in contact, the Nine Tails will pull yours too. He will use his hatred to corrupt you, so make sure you break through." Naruto walked towards the downed Nine Tails, and grabbed the tip of one of his tails. He could feel the chakra of the beast coursing through the furry flesh. Naruto coated his hands in chakra, and pulled. This didn't go unnoticed by the struggling fox, who glared at his jailed with eyes full of hate. "Oh, so that's your plan. You want to take my chakra for you, huh? Well, it's not happening," the Kyuubi roared. Suddenly, the Nine Tails body released a powerful blast of chakra, one that destroyed Killer Bee's tentacles, and once again violently hurled Naruto backwards. Real-world Naruto wasn't the only one pushed backwards, as the same thing happened to Killer Bee in the outside world. "Bee," Fu called as she went to check on her fellow Jinchuriki. "Are you okay? What happened?" "The Nine Tails is much stronger than I thought. I can no longer help Naruto. He isn't in a tight spot," Killer Bee told the others. For a pair of eyes turned at the immobile blonde, hoping that he would be able to defeat the Nine Tails without any help. And then, much to their shock, Naruto burst into flames. "Nine Tails seal, no playing around. I'm going to make sure there's not enough to bury left of your body," the Nine Tails boasted, as he opened his jaws and started to gather chakra. Blue and red energy particles started to gather, forming a dark purple sphere that was quickly growing. Tailed Beast Wave. The Nine Tails swallowed the ball, before opening its jaws again, releasing a powerful wave of chakra at the hapless blonde. It would have been his end if it wasn't for a barrier of purple flames that formed between the human and the tailed beast, successfully dispersing the attack into multiple directions. "What?" the Nine Tails roared in indignation. "Wait a minute, these flames, this chakra. It can't be," Naruto said in realization, full of joy. The purple flames formed a tornado of fire that quickly began to shrink and compress, until it took an humanoid shape, surrounded by a cloak of purple flames. It was somebody Naruto knew too well. "Hello, Naruto-kun. I hope my intervention was timely." "Hinata-hime," Naruto said, pulling his girlfriend into a hug. "Oh boy, I'm so happy to see you. What are you doing here? How are you here, by the way?" "Actually, I'm not the real Hinata, but a piece of her chakra she sealed into you before you departed Konoha," Hinata explained. "When did she?" Naruto tried to remember, until the realization hit him. "The kiss. That's why she jolted me. Yes. I knew I had to help you tame the Nine Tails somehow. This was the only thing I could think of," Hinata told him. "Heh, don't worry, Haim. Now that you're here, that furry asshole has no chances to win," Naruto proudly declared. "Indeed," Hinata smiled and nodded. "What is the plan, Naruto-kun? You cover me from above. I'll give this overgrown furball a beating he won't forget," Naruto said, grinning confidently. "You got it." Hinata agreed, as she elevated above Naruto. The Nine Tails angrily eyed the two youths, and snarled. "No matter how much help you get, you won't make my power yours. I won't be a slave to the humans anymore." High into the air, Hinata pulled her collapsible chakra bow. Pulling the chakra string, she generated an arrow made of pure electricity. Though then aiming at the fox, she aimed at a spot above him. Lightning release, thunder arrow volley. Hinata released the arrow, which flew above the Nine Tails in an arc. However, when it was above his head, it exploded into a multitude of smaller lightning arrows that rained upon the giant fox like the lightning storm. He wrapped his tails around him like a dome for protection. "Naruto-kun, now!" Hinata shouted. The Nine Tails heard a loud whirring sound, and saw that Naruto had just thrown a raisin shuriken at him. Still, the beast proved to be faster than he appeared, as he moved his tails just in time to intercept the chakra shuriken. There was a massive explosion of chakra and wind that pushed the fox backwards and all of his tails in different directions. However, he did manage to avoid the worst part of the explosion. "Heh, not bad, brat, but you can't hope to dash." The Nine Tails was interrupted by another whirring sound, and from the dome of chakra and wind, a second raisin shuriken emerged. "Accursed brat. He used the first raisin shuriken to leave me wide open and to hide the second one," the Nine Tails thought in realization, though too late. The attack connected, resulting in a second explosive sphere of chakra and razor blade wings. The giant fox roared in pain as the force of the blast tossed him against the soaked floor on his back. "Hinata-hime, use your black ball thingies to immobilize him," Naruto told his girlfriend. "Right. Truth-seeking balls." After making the necessary hand seals, Hinata generated 4 truth-seeking balls. With 2 arm motions, she threw the orbs at each of the 9 tails' limbs. They took the shape of horseshoes before they embedded themselves into the ground, pinning his arms and legs down. You think you can keep me contained? The 9 tails roared, as he began to push the truth-seeking orbs. Just because you have a Tensegan you think that makes you Homura? You're barely a shadow compared to him. Hinata was chosen by Homura to carry his legacy, Naruto said, as he made several shadow clones, which positioned themselves around the fox in a circle. And she isn't the only one who's going to contain you. Sealing art, cursed binding circle. The Naruto clone stabbed a kunai with a sealing tag on them into the ground. The seals were activated immediately, generating more chains of seals that formed multiple concentric circles. Once said circles were complete, the 9 tails felt his body go completely rigid. I can't move, the fox grunted. Between the binding seals and the truth-seeking balls, he couldn't barely speak. Now that the 9 tails has been subdued, try to take his chakra, Naruto-kun. Hinata told him. You don't have to tell me twice, the real Naruto said, as he walked towards the central tail and grabbed its tip. Alright, here we go. Naruto started to pull the 9 tails chakra out, which took the shape of a blue energy current, and pushed it into himself. You bastard, the 9 tails grumbled. Anger started to well up inside him as he felt Naruto slowly draining his chakra. You humans are all the same, fueled by his rage. The fox started to fight both Naruto and Hinata's bindings, and began to recover some mobility, even if it wasn't much. Still, with some time, he could break free. The Tensegan wielder noticed this. Naruto-kun, hurry. He might break free any moment. Hinata urged him. I'm trying. Naruto replied, struggling to pull and absorb the chakra. Alright, I'll see if I can buy you some more tea, eh? Hinata interrupted himself when she noticed something. The chakra current that was being absorbed into Naruto was starting to change from blue to very dark red. Hinata had a very bad feeling about it. You think you can take my power and make it your own? The 9 tails roared with such power, Hinata was forced to cover her ears. The chakra current changed color completely, and worse, it started to spread into Naruto. The clones keeping the binding circle active dispelled, allowing the Kyuubi more freedom. You have no idea who you're fighting against. What I am, and what my power represents. But you'll learn it soon. Now, taste my anger. Taste my hatred, and be consumed by it. The dark red chakra started to spread around Naruto's body, engulfing it completely. First, Naruto was hit by a wave of pain unlike any other he felt before. He fell to his knees, and tried to cut the connection between him and the beast, but the 9 tails wouldn't allow any of that. Ahaha wahaha. Naruto screamed, as he clutched his body. Naruto-kun. Hinata said, as she quickly flew at her boyfriend's side, and placed a hand on her shoulder. Naruto-kun, are you OW? Touching Naruto felt like touching a burning iron. If that was how it felt on the outside, she couldn't imagine what the blonde was feeling on the inside. Panicked, Hinata started to look around, trying to find a way to help her beloved. It didn't take her long to see that the root of the problem was the chakra linking human and beast. Don't worry, you'll be fine in an instant, Hinata said, as she started to make hand seals. Truth-seeking dash, like hell you will. The 9 tails roared before smacking Hinata with one of his tails. The Hyuga clan head was so focused on Naruto and his suffering that she didn't notice the fox until it was too late, and the poor girl was hurled away. Ha! She screamed, before falling into the nearby water with a splash. Such a violent act against Hinata would enrage Naruto beyond reason. But the Jinchuriki was in so much pain, he didn't even notice what was happening around him. The pain was too great. Being tightly chained to a giant rock, with spikes piercing your limbs and chest, it was too much. Then it came the anger. Rage so pure and undiluted, it felt unreal. Not even when pain almost killed Hinata and Haku, nor when Akatsuki abducted several Jinchuriki under his nose did Naruto felt such fury. Anger at all the people responsible for this. That despicable Madara Uchiha. The loathsome first Hokage and his equally worthless wife, Mito. Kushina Uzumaki. And lastly, Kushina's spawn and current jailer, Naruto Uzumaki. Wait, there's something wrong, Naruto said, in a moment of clarity. He quickly realized that the pain and anger he was feeling wasn't his, but the Nine Tails. Not that this helped him in any way, as he was soon overwhelmed by the inhumane pain and anger, while desperately clinging to his last bits of sanity. For 16 years I've been languishing inside your body. And now you will be the one inside me, Naruto. Goodbye. The Kyuubi shouted, as he proceeded to absorb Naruto once and for all. Help, Naruto said, his voice being a whisper, before the fox consumed him. Back in the real world, people were worried. When Naruto burst into purple flames, Fu instantly recognized them as Hinata's Tensigan chakra cloak, not to mention that thanks to her connection to Naruto, she could sense that chakra as if it was hers, meaning that Hinata must have transferred some of her chakra to Naruto. However, another kind of chakra, this time dark red, put the purple flames out as it started to slowly spread around Naruto. This is bad, the beast is winning. The Nine Tails chakra grows while Naruto's is thinning, a worried Killer Bee panicked. Fu had to admit that Killer Bee's dedication to rapping was worth respecting, given not even such a dire situation forced him to drop it. What do we do? Fu asked, looking at Tenzo and the third Hokage. Hokage-sama, I think we should put an end to this, Tenzo told the old man. Naruto can always try later. Agreed, the third Hokage said with a nod, as he pulled out a few sealing tags Jiraiya had given him. Now, Tenzo, use your dash, wait a second. Fu called, as through her connection to Naruto, she started to feel something. Look! Back inside the seal, the pain and the anger finally overwhelmed the blonde, and in his wish to be released for such torture, allowed the Nine Tails to win, and let the beast absorb his chakra. Snap. And lastly, the pain and the hatred vanished, being replaced by a warm, comforting feeling. Was he finally dead? No, he wasn't dead, he could still feel his body, his feet standing on that soaked floor. The connection broke, the Nine Tails said in alarm. He could no longer feel his connection to Naruto. It was as if something was filtering his chakra from corrupting the blonde any further. My hatred was pushed back. What is this feeling? Tell me, Nine Tails, a new male voice Naruto never heard before began. Have you ever loved somebody so much that you would give your life for their happiness and well-being? Because this is what you're feeling right now. Two parents' love for the son they barely got to meet. You, the Nine Tails roared. Yeah, the man said, as he turned at the beast. Me. Slowly, Naruto's eyesight returned, and he realized he was still inside the Nine Tails seal. But there was another person he hasn't seen before. A blond man wearing a white cloak adorned with flames. Said man had a hand on the chakra link that was binding the Nine Tails to Naruto, and with a quick hand motion, snapped it in two. Naruto then felt a comforting hand placed on his shoulder. Naruto, are you okay? A female voice asked. Yet that voice didn't belong to Hinata. Naruto realized there was a red-haired woman standing beside him, her lips curved into a welcoming smile. As his mind started to recover, he put two and two together. Wait, you guys are the fourth Hokage? Naruto heard Hinata's voice. He turned around, and saw that the Hyuga was slowly floating back to him. What are you guys doing here? Naruto asked. The fourth Hokage merely smiled at him. Don't worry. I know you must be confused, and have plenty of questions. There will be time for that. Let us help you put that oversized furball in his place. You don't have to do this alone, you know, the woman added. Minato Kushina, the Nine-Tails growled, as he glared at the two newcomers. First the Hyuga girl, and now you two. I don't know why or how are you here, but this changes nothing. No amount of humans will stop me from claiming my freedom. We'll see about that, Minato confidently replied. His eyes moved towards Hinata. Your name is Hinata, right? Why yes, Hokage-sama, the shocked Hyuga replied. Talking with the past Hokage felt unreal. Not even talking with Himura Otsutsuki felt so overwhelming. We saw that the Nine-Tails got you good before. You think you can continue fighting? Minato asked. Of course. Hinata said, trying to put on a brave face. I promised Naruto-kun I'll help him no matter what, and I won't go back on my word. Good, Minato said with a nod. Naruto and I will fight the fox head-on. Kushina will bind it with her chakra chains. You will provide some support from above. Understood, Hinata replied, as she started to gain attitude. You can count on me, Naruto-kun, Hokage-sama. Your name was Kushina. Kushina nodded. Don't worry about introductions now. We can do that later. It's time to fight, you know. Back on his feet, or better said, paws, the Nine-Tails stomped towards the four humans. I'm so going to enjoy killing you a second time, Minato, Kushina, the Nine-Tails threatened, as he gritted his fangs. Though I don't know if I should kill you first so your son can see you die this time, or if I should kill the brat first in front of your eyes. We'll see about that. Kushina said, as a chain shot from her body. However, it wasn't aimed at the beast, but at Hinata hovering above them. Hinata, catch! Hold it tightly. The Hyuga clan had caught the chain, and wrapped it around her wrist for good measure. What do you want me to do, Kushina-san? Hinata asked. When I tell you, launch me at the Nine-Tails when all your strength, you know? Kushina asked. Hinata merely nodded. For the time being, let the boys go first. You heard your mother, Naruto, let's go. Minato said, as he rushed forward. Prepare a Raisin Shuriken. You got it. Naruto replied, while summoning a Minato pulled out multiple tri-pronged kunai with seals on their handle, and tossed them all around the place. Let's see if you can keep up with me. Minato said, as he charged towards the Nine-Tails, Rasengan in hand. You stupid, insignificant human. You weren't able to beat me back then. What are you going to do? Seal me again? The Nine-Tails said in a mocking tone, as he brought down his paw down. Minato, however, quickly teleported to a nearby kunai. The Kyuubi attempted to crush him with his other arm, but Minato was faster. Eventually, the fox was forced to play a very frustrating game of whack-a-mole with the teleporting Minato. Stay still, damn it. The Nine-Tails roared. Upon seeing that Naruto was ready, Minato tossed one of his special kunai at the Nine-Tails' face, and in less than a second, he teleported back to Naruto, touched him, and teleported again to the kunai flying towards the Nine-Tails' face. Naruto, now! Minato shouted. Wind release, Raisin Shuriken. The younger blonde tossed the shuriken of wind chakra at the giant fox. However, the Nine-Tails was already expecting this, and opened his jaws. You won't be able to charge a tailed beast ball fast enough, Naruto claimed. But the Nine-Tails had more weapons than the tailed beast ball. His throat glowed with an orange light, and a torrent of flames poured from his jaws, intercepting the Raisin Shuriken. Naruto's jutsu detonated prematurely, exploding in a dome of razor-sharp winds, and upon absorbing the fox's fire attack, a massive ball of fire that quickly expanded. Whoops! Minato said, before teleporting both himself and Naruto to the farthest tri-pronged kunai in order to escape the expanding inferno. You think you're so smart, don't you, Minato? The Nine-Tails growled, still behind the flames. But you have no idea what you're fighting against, Hinata, now. Kushina shouted. Suddenly, the exploding ball of flame split in two, mostly the result of Hinata's kinetic ability, and launched Kushina against the giant fox. Adamantine Wrecking Ball. Kushina shot multiple chakra chains from her body that wrapped around herself, forming multiple layers, until they resembled a metal ball. At the same time, Hinata let go of the chain she was holding. The Nine Tails was unable to dodge, and the wrecking ball hit him with such force, it knocked the fox on his back. "You cursed dash!" The Nine Tails was interrupted when Minato and Naruto suddenly appeared beside Kushina, who was quickly pulled away by Hinata's kinetic power. The two blondes were holding a truly massive sphere of chakra. Parent and child Rasengan. Minato and Naruto slammed the gigantic sphere of destruction onto the fox's belly. The nine-tailed beast roared in agony, still reeling from the pain in his jaws caused by Kushina. Adamantine Sealing Chains. Truth-Seeking Balls. Once again, multiple chains shot from Kushina's body and wrapped against the Nine-Tails' body, arms, legs and tails. Meanwhile, Hinata summoned four truth-seeking balls, changed their shape into horseshoes, and used them to pin the fox's arms and legs to the ground like she did before. "Naruto, now!" Kushina called. Naruto created an army of clones, who split into 9 groups, each group grabbing one of the Nine Tails chakra, who futilely tried to break from Kushina and Hinata's bindings. The army of clones started to pull, and with their combined strength, a gigantic mass of orange chakra was ripped away from the Nine Tails. Naruto quickly absorbed that chakra into his body, resulting in a burst of golden light. "Naruto-kun, you just wow!" Hinata said in awe. The absorbed tailed beast chakra manifested as a golden chakra cloak that covered Naruto completely. It was similar to Hinata's Tensigan chakra cloak, but while Hinata's made her look like she was surrounded by flames, in Naruto's case it was as if he was made of them. The double tetragram seal was visible on his stomach. "You did it!" Minato cheered. "Of course he did. He's our son, you know," Kushina added, just as expected. "Naruto," the Nine Tails growled, drawing the 4 humans' attention to him. The Nine Tails now looked extremely emaciated, like an animal who had been starved for months. Even if he struggled to do so, he managed to get back to his feet. You think you can take my power like that?" "Amazing, after all the chakra I took from him, he still has enough strength to continue," Naruto said in awe. "Tailed beasts are truly amazing. You will die the same way your parents did." The Nine Tails roared, as he charged towards the group of 4. While the other 3 tensed up and prepared to continue the fight, Naruto merely shook his head. He placed his hand on the seal on his stomach, and just like he did before, turned it as if it was a doorknob. Suddenly, Tori started to fall from the sky, pinning the fox's tails to the ground, then his body, and finally his neck, immobilizing it completely. The Nine Tails struggled to break free, but it was useless. Finally, a pair of gates appeared and closed with a loud clang, forming a new jail for the tailed beast. "I'm sorry, Nine Tails," Naruto said, sounding regretful. "I promise you that this isn't the end." "It's okay, son," Minato said, placing a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You did a good job. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions to ask us," Kushina added. She then looked at the Nine Tails, still trashing and cursing loudly. "But let's move this conversation somewhere a bit nicer, shall we?" Suddenly, they were no longer inside the Nine Tails seal, but in some sort of shapeless space of bright swirling colors and shooting stars, in a way similar to the room where the real Naruto was. "Yes, this is much better," Minato said with a nod, before facing Naruto. "Hello, Naruto. It's been a while since the last time we saw you. You surely grew a lot," Kushina added. "You know who we are, right?" "Yes," Naruto hesitantly replied. "My mother and father." "But, how can you be here?" "I thought you were—" Naruto's eyes drifted towards Hinata, and a realization dawned upon him. "Wait, you're a fragment of their chakra, right?" I've been carrying a piece of your chakra this whole time. Exactly, Kushina confirmed. Before our tragic demise, Minato sealed the last remnants of our chakra inside you. He knew you'd need help when the time to tame the Nine Tails came. Plus, it would give us the chance of seeing you all grown up, Naruto, Minato said. Though, it seems we aren't the only foreign chakra you've been carrying, Kushina said, as she glanced at Hinata and smiled at her. Who are you, girl? You said your name is Hinata, right? You have the Hyuga looks, but those eyes aren't the Byakugan. Your presence was a surprise, but not an unwelcome one, Minato added. It seems that you and Naruto are pretty close. We are, Hinata replied. And yes, I'm a Hyuga. These eyes are called Tensigen, and they're an evolution of the Byakugan. My name is Hinata Hyuga, current clan head of the Hyuga clan. Naruto-kun and I are in a relationship. Clan head? Kushina asked, a bit incredulous. But you're so young. Hey, wait a moment, you are Hikari-chan's daughter, are you? Kushina asked. Hinata nodded. Heh, no wonder you looked so familiar. Look at that. Our son and Hikari's daughter ending up together. Who would have guessed it, Minato said, chuckling. I was expecting for you to hook up with Mikoto-chan's baby, but he turned out to be a boy, Kushina said, laughing a bit. Anyway, how are the two of them doing? Mom, Naruto began. Mikoto Uchiha is dead. And so is almost all of the Uchihas. Both Minato and Kushina were frozen in shock. What? No. Kushina cried in horror. Just what happened after we died? Minato asked. It's a pretty long story. So I'd better start from the beginning, Naruto said. And thus, Naruto began narrating as well as he remembered the events after his birth. How Jiraiya and Tsunade returned to take care of him. Their marriage, and the birth of Kaida and Hagane. Naruto used two transformed clones to show Minato and Kushina how they looked. Kushina couldn't stop gushing for whole 5 minutes. The gushing stopped when Naruto reached the part of the Uchiha insurrection, which ended with most of the Uchiha clan dead, as well as many Konoha ninjas, among them Hinata's father, Hiashi Hyuga. To think Mikoto-chan would be willing to go along with such insanity, Kushina began. I can't believe that Fugaku would do that either, Minato added. I knew the man. He was serious and practical, and above all else, always looked for the best for his clan. To send his clan into such a suicidal folly, Naruto continued his story. Jiraiya's ascension to Hokage after Hiruzen couldn't continue anymore. How Naruto graduated the academy and was assigned to a team with Hinata, and Haku as his teammates and Kurenai Yuhi as his sensei. The mission to the land of the rice fields, now the land of sound. The Chunin exams, Orochimaru's invasion, and Kaida and Hagane's kidnapping attempt. And finally, the revelation that the masked Akatsuki member, who claimed to be responsible of the Nine Tails attack and the Uchiha insurrection, was no other than Obito Uchiha. Both Minato and Kushina felt like they'd been hit in the gut by a sledgehammer. Obito? No. It can't be him. Even if he somehow survived the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, there's no way that he could have committed such atrocities. Minato said, shaking his head, clearly disbelieving what he was hearing. First Mikoto-chan and now Obito. Did the world turn crazy? Kushina screamed. Hokage-sama, Kushina-san, Hinata spoke, drawing their attention. I know it must be hard to believe, but that man is indeed Obito Uchiha. Kakashi-sensei and Rin-san confirmed his identity multiple times. Wait a minute, Rin. Minato asked, his confusion growing. Is she alive too? Well, no, but actually yes, Naruto replied. Rin died the same way you remember, but Obito brought her back to life. Somehow. And probably with lots of the first Hokage's cells. Good to hear that something nice came out from so many catastrophes, you know, Kushina said, letting out a heavy sigh. Her death broke my heart. Still, if I knew that the man who attacked us the day of your birth was Obito, Minato began, clenching his fist in anger. Maybe I would have been able to stop him in time. I just can't imagine what moved Obito to attack us so coldly. He was like family to us. Nobody knows what happened to Obito after his disappearance during the Third Ninja War, Hinata said. Who knows who he could have met? Speaking of which, what happened that day? Naruto asked. I tried to ask Old Man Hokage and all the people who were present the day of the attack, but they knew very little. Minato and Kushina proceeded to tell the couple about how the happiest day in their lives turned out to be one of Konoha's biggest tragedies. How Obito infiltrated the secret location where Kushina was giving birth, using newborn Naruto as a distraction so he could get away with Kushina. Then, Kushina told them how Obito extracted the 9 tails from her body, bound him to his will through his Mangekyo Sharingan, and teleported him to Konoha, where he summoned him in order to cause mass destruction. Minato moved Naruto and Kushina to one of his several safe houses in the outskirts of Konoha while he went to deal with the 9 tails. However, he was unable to do it, given that Obito forced him away from Konoha and into a battle. Minato managed to win, but while he was busy, the fox continued his rampage, killing dozens of people. Eventually, Minato teleported the beast to Naruto and Kushina's location, both to move the fox out of the village, and to seal it again. Kushina wanted to seal the 9 tails within herself again, even if she was about to die. Minato, however, decided that Konoha needed the fox's power, and that Naruto should be the one to inherit it. Since the whole 9 tails would be too much for a baby, he sealed half of his chakra with the Reaper Death Seal, while sealing the other half inside Naruto. The 9 tails attempted to kill Naruto before he could be sealed again, but his parents blocked the attack with their own bodies, and with his last breath, Minato sealed the 9 tails inside Naruto, alongside what remained of their chakra. There was a moment of silence, as Naruto and Hinata processed the story they just heard. What a tale, Naruto finally said. I'm sure Mom and Dad, Tsunade and Jiraiya will want to know what happened. Jiraiya in particular might find some closure. You can call them Mom and Dad, Naruto, Kushina said, smiling reassuringly. They were the ones who raised you, after all. Yeah. That's why we appointed Jiraiya-sensei as your godfather. Though Tsunade-sama wanting to take care of you was quite a surprise, Minato said, chuckling a little. And they did a really great job, you know. Kushina said. I mean, look at you. You're a jonin at 16, who just tamed the most powerful tailed beast in existence, and most importantly, you have a cute girlfriend. Both Naruto and Hinata blushed, and averted their gazes. Drop it, Mom, Naruto whined. You're making Hinata feel embarrassed. Just Hinata? Kushina said, raising an eyebrow in a taunting manner. Naruto, I need to ask you something, Minato said. I sealed the 9 tails into you because I knew that his power would be needed when the masked man, Obito, returned. The fact that you were trying to control his power now means that that time has come already. Am I wrong? Unfortunately not, Naruto said. Obito recruited multiple S-class criminals and formed a terrorist group named Akatsuki, with the goal of capturing all 9-tailed beasts. We managed to kill or capture several of them, but we couldn't stop them from claiming no less than 6-tailed beasts. On top of the captured tailed beasts and his Akatsuki allies, Obito has revealed to have an army of artificial humans called Zetsu at his disposal, and declared war on the entire elemental nations unless he is in possession of the remaining 3. Those are terrible news, Minato said. Not even in my worst nightmares I'd imagine that Obito could start a war of such magnitude. So far, the 5 great villages, and a few minor ones, plus the land of Iron Samurai, have joined forces in order to face Akatsuki. I'm on a secret island alongside the other 2 remaining Jinchuriki. One of them can already control his tailed beast's power, and he'll teach us to do the same. The other one will try to subdue hers once I'm done. Who are these 2 Jinchuriki, Naruto? Kushina asked. Fu from Takigakure, and Killer Bee, from Kimogakure, Naruto told his parents. I'm afraid I don't know who this Fu is, but I'm familiar with Killer Bee, Minato said, nodding. I fought both him and his brother A during the Third Ninja War. B might be an unorthodox person, but he's a powerful and skilled ninja. With him as your teacher, you will learn to control your newfound power in no time. Let's hope I do, because I have the feeling we'll need the tailed beast's power in order to end this war. That moment, white sparkles started to form around Minato and Kushina's bodies, which started to be consumed by a white light. It seems our chakra is starting to break down and disappear, Naruto, Minato said. We only have a few more seconds, in case you want to tell us something. I do, Naruto began. After everything I heard, how you guys sacrificed yourselves not just to save me, but to save Konoha as a whole, I want to tell you guys that I'm going to make sure your sacrifice won't be in vain. Konoha shall thrive, and I'll become the kind of son you'll feel proud of. Oh, Naruto, Kushina said, as her body started to break apart. We are already very proud of you. Despite how little we could see you, we can tell what a fine young man you've grown into. Tell Jiraiya-sensei and Tsunade-sama that we're very thankful for raising you into such a great man and ninja, Minato said, as he started to disappear as well. And that they shouldn't be in a hurry to meet us again. Don't worry, Mom, Dad, I will, Naruto replied. And just like they did the first time, Minato and Kushina disappeared with a smile in their lips. Goodbye, Mom, Dad, Naruto said to no one in particular. Even if it was for a short time, I was glad to meet you as well as fighting alongside you. Naruto-kun, Hinata called him. Naruto turned around and saw that his girlfriend was starting to break down into white sparkles as well. It seems my time here is over as well. It's okay, at the very least, I know I'll get to see you again, Naruto said with a sad chuckle. Thanks a lot for your help. I'm glad you were at my side at such moment in my life, Hein. Hinata smiled at him. Don't sweat it. Now make sure we both make to the end of this war alive. See you soon. With that, Hinata disappeared as well. Now that Naruto was alone, there was no more reason to be inside the Nine Tails seal at all. The others might get worried, given that the Nine Tails had been close to winning a couple times. Real-world Naruto opened his eyes, and saw that Tenzo, Hiruzen, Killer Bee, and Fu were staring at him with various expressions. Tenzo and the third Hokage were looking at him in shock, Killer Bee was happy, and Fu had her eyes very open and her jaw dropped, completely in awe. It took Naruto a couple seconds to realize that he was also wearing the golden chakra cloak. So hey, what do you think? Naruto said, as he got back to his feet. Pretty cool, huh? It's amazing, Fu said, almost in a whisper. I'm not even a sensor, yet I can feel the sheer power you're radiating. It's like being close to the sun, except the heat feels pretty nice. Yes. The air even feels cleaner the moment you activated that cloak, Tenzo pointed out. So, this is the power of Tailed Beast's chakra free of the beast's corrupting will? So it seems, Naruto said. Tailed Beast's raw power is primal essence, and with your chakra it formed a coalescence. Killer Bee enthusiastically rapped. Oh. Me next, me next. Fu excitedly exclaiming, bouncing up and down like a little girl about to receive her birthday present. I was scared at first, but I want to do it now. Sure, Naruto said, moving aside, so Fu could take his place, which quickly did so. You seems to be full of enthusiasm, and that's good. But be careful, taming a tailed beast is no small task, don't be a fool, Killer Bee warned, as he sat beside her. The two of them bumped fists, and closed their eyes. By the way, excuse me for a second, I need to do a little something, Naruto said, as he exited the room, leaving Tenzo ANF the third Hokage alone with the entranced Jinchuriki. Just like his fellow Jinchuriki, Naruto sat down cross-legged, and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he found himself inside the seal. Behind the red-colored prison gates was the Nine Tails, still immobilized by the Tori. "Hey there, Nine Tails," Naruto called. The giant fox grumbled, not noticing Naruto's presence at first. He narrowed his eyes at the blonde. "What are you doing here so soon? Did you come here to gloat your victory over me?" Naruto then switched his seal once again, and much to the Nine Tails' confusion, but happiness, the Tori pinning his body against the ground disappeared, and the gates of his cell opened again. What are you doing?" the confused fox asked again. "What's the meaning of this? Don't you feel better now?" Naruto asked. "Because you appeared to be very uncomfortable before. You know exactly what I mean." "Stop playing games with me, human," the Nine Tails growled, as he stretched his very sore limbs. "I see you're in no mood for small talk." "Guess it can't be helped," Naruto said, as he sat down. "I want to talk with you. And make you a proposition. You know that I could attack you now," the Nine Tails threatened. "Your girlfriend and birth parents are no longer here to help you. What you're doing is extremely foolish." Naruto chuckled. "Well, you aren't the first one to tell me that. And I bet you won't be the last either." Naruto then grew more serious. "Do you want to listen to what I have to say, or do you prefer to go back to your jail? Because I can send you back just as easily as I released you." The Nine Tails narrowed his eyes and gritted his teeth at Naruto once again. While Naruto wasn't the first human who spoke to him in such haughty tone, it was something that drove him mad. Still, the cunning part of his mind told him to wait and see what happens. Naruto was holding all the cards right now, so he needed to approach this patiently. "I could have run away the moment Obito's mind control over me was broken, but I decided to stay and vent my rage on those Konoha ninja. And thus I ended up sealed again. I cannot waste any more chances," the Nine Tails reflected. "Talk, brat. I'm listening." "I'm sure you heard already, but I will tell you again just in case. There's going to be an all-out war against the Akatsuki. Many people will die. Hell, we might not even win," Naruto began, his tone being solemn and urgent. "I want your help to win this war. You already have complete control over my power, brat," the Nine Tails replied, even if he knew that wasn't true. "Why do you need, or want, my cooperation? What do you expect to get?" "Your cooperation?" Naruto repeated. The Nine Tails narrowed his eyes at Naruto again. "What are you planning, brat? Why do you want me to work with you willingly instead of directly taking my power?" The fox asked again. "Well, when I was trying to steal your chakra, and you were trying to overwhelm me with it, a connection between us was formed. And I could feel all your rage and your hate and all your suffering," Naruto began. The Nine Tails seemed to pay more attention, but he didn't say anything. "I experienced the long years of captivity you spent inside Mito, then Kushina, and lastly me. The former two were especially bad. And I don't want you to suffer that badly. That's why, even if I can't afford to release you, I want to make your stay here better." Then, much to Naruto's shock, the Nine Tails started to roar with laughter. "Oh, that's a good one, human. Caring about me. As if humans could care about our kind," the giant fox said, as he continued laughing uproariously. That's it, until he noticed that Naruto was looking at him with dead serious eyes. You can't be serious." "Why not?" Naruto asked. "Is that incredible that, after I experienced firsthand how do you feel, I want to make your life better? But I killed countless Konoha humans. Your birth parents among them," the Nine Tails reminded him, sounding incredulous. "Are you telling me you're willing to ignore all of that? A certain somebody I met once told me that you can't understand somebody else unless you experience their pain," Naruto began. "And, even if you do, you might not agree with them, or you may not want to forgive them for their actions against you. That no human can do that. But in the end, if we don't do that, all what we'll accomplish is to perpetuate the circle of hatred that keeps us embroiled in wars." And tailed beasts are no different to us on that regard. Sure, I could make your life a living hell while you're sealed inside me, but what good would be? Someday, I'll die, and you might break free, your hatred for humans stronger than ever. If I had any hopes of curbing that hatred, I need to forgive you. I need to show you that there are humans you can trust. And even call your friends. You want to be friends with me? The Nine Tails asked, before letting out a mirthless laugh. Heh, now that's a good one. We don't have to be friends right now, Naruto replied. All I ask is for you to work with me in good faith. But mom and dad say that I have a knack for making friends, so I expect that in the end you'll also fall to my irresistible charm. The blonde said, half joking. The Nine Tails stared at Naruto with a critical eye. At first he thought that maybe it was some sort of trick to make him lower his guard, but to what end? The human already had complete control over his chakra. Could this blonde moron mean his words? The Nine Tails had a hard time trusting humans, given his experiences with them. You tailed beasts are simply servants of those with the blessed eyes. Now obey me, you filthy animal. Your power is too great. Regrettably, I can't let you run loose. When you exert your power, you draw hatred towards you. Please stay quiet inside me. You might be here to keep the world in check, but I'm here to watch you. Yet here was this brat, talking nonsense about forgiveness and friendship. Almost treating the Nine Tails like a living being rather than a mindless weapon. Could this boy be different? The fox hated the fact that he was even entertaining the idea. But then again, he had made the seal far more tolerable, and he wasn't planning on giving up that. For the time being, it would be best to play nice, and see what happens next. It seems I don't have much of a choice. But a choice nonetheless, the Nine Tails said in defeat, much to Naruto's joy. You have a deal. Excellent. Naruto happily cheered, as he jumped to his feet. If you want anything, tell me. Now I need to go with Fu, she's about to face her tailed beast. See you later, Nine Tails. Naruto, the Nine Tails called before the blonde could leave. Don't call me Nine Tails. I have a name. It's Kurama. You have a name? Naruto asked, looking surprised. Why didn't you tell me before? Only those who I deem worthy may use my name. So far, only my father and my idiotic siblings know my name, so consider yourself fortunate, the Nine Tails said with a huff of self-importance. A wide, taunting grin formed on Naruto's face. So, I'm worthy in your eyes? Heh, I knew you'd warm up to me. Don't push your luck, human. Now go already, you're unbound. Youthful energy is like plunging a searing dagger into my eyes, the Kurama said. Naruto opened his eyes, and found himself back in the real world. Despite he had spent a few minutes talking with the Nine Tails, only a second passed in real time. He stood up, and walked back into the special room, when Fu was about to begin her greatest challenge. Hey guys, did she dash? Suddenly, there was a huge burst of chakra coming from Fu. The green-haired girl opened her eyes, and smiled. And done, she cheered. What? So soon? Naruto asked in shock. How could you beat a tailed beast so easily? Oh, I didn't beat Chomei, by the way. The Seven Tails has a name, and it's Chomei, isn't it cool? We just sat down and have a nice talk. We have a lot of things in common. For example, we both have the same favorite genre of music. We also hate the same genres of music. Fu excitedly explained. And since then, we decided it's for the best to work together. She helps me, and I'll try to make her stay inside me as pleasant as possible. Naruto looked defeated. Man, I had to fight a goddamn death match against the fox, and needed the help from 3 people to win, and you only had to talk to your tailed beast? Speak about fair. Don't fret about it, boy, Hiruzen told him. The important part is, the 2 of you have successfully tamed your tailed beasts, and their power is at your disposal. Speaking of which, check this out, Fu said, as she started to build chakra around her. Soon, a dark teal armor formed around her body, leaving only her eyes visible. The armor appeared to be organic rather than made of any kind of metal, and reminded of an insect's carapace. And that's not all, she said, and suddenly, spikes started to grow all around the armor. A huge Y-shaped horn grew on her helmet, blades that looked like the jaws of a stag beetle grew from her wrists, and lastly, 6 wings sprouted from her back. The Chomei Chakra Armor. I bet you haven't seen anything cooler in your life. Naruto crossed his arms and averted his gaze in a somewhat disdainful manner. I think my chakra cloak is much cooler, so, now that their training is over, I guess that we can send them to the battle, right? Tenzo asked. Sorry pal, I'm afraid it won't be the case. If you send them as they're now, it will be a disgrace. First thing they need is to train a lot, master their new powers, if they want to have a shot. Killer Bee told the Konoha ninjas. Guess it can't be helped, Naruto said, a little dejected. How long do you think the training will take, Killer Bee-san? Hiruzen asked. I'm afraid I don't know, it could be a lot of time, but these two are fast learners, so it will be sublime. Killer Bee replied. I think we should start our training right now, Naruto suggested. Seconded. Fu chimed in. I want to know what I can do now that Chomei and I are synced. Alright then, let's head outside, show me what you can do, and fight with pride. Killer Bee replied. Their job done, the group headed outside of the temple, where Naruto and Fu would begin their tailed beast control training. While Naruto and Fu hoped that the training would end before the war, Hiruzen and Tenzo hoped that Akatsuki's power won't be so great as to need 3 perfect Jinchuriki to counter it. Fu was admiring her new chakra armor in the reflection of the Lake of the Falls of Truth, making several poses and shifting her position so she could see all of it. She changed poses with increased frequency, and the more he did it, the more upset she grew, something her tailed beast noticed. Fu? Something wrong? Chomei asked. It's the armor, she began, as she kept changing her pose. Don't you like it? The giant beetle asked, sounding disheartened. You think it's ugly? Oh no, nothing like that, the armor is awesome, she reassured, before growing a little more uneasy. It's just I don't know, it messes with my style. It kinda lacks something, and I can't put my finger what is it, oh. I think I know what you're talking about, the beetle said, excited. Let me do a little adjustments. As soon as Chomei said that, the plates covering her midsection retracted, leaving her abs bare for all to see. Fu beamed upon seeing this. Yes. Now it's perfect. Thank you, Chomei. Fu cheered. Anytime, girl, Chomei replied, glad to make her host happy. You know, Fu, I think you're missing the point of an armor, Naruto said, as he walked towards her. Your armor isn't going to protect you much if you have such a gap there. That's like wearing a sign that says, please eviscerate me. Naruto deadpanned. Fu turned at him, frowned, and placed her hands on her hips. Sorry, but a Fu that doesn't bare her midriff is like a Naruto that doesn't wear orange. It's an immutable part of who I am, the green-haired girl said. But if you're so worried about me, go ahead and punch me in my gut. I'm not going to do that, Naruto replied, crossing his arms. You need an incentive, then. Fine, Fu said. Punch me, and if you make me bend down, I'll treat you to ramen for a whole month. This seemed to change Naruto's disposition, who clenched his hand into a fist. Well, I don't like punching my friends, but who can resist such an offer? And with a loud crack, Naruto's fist hit Fu's stomach, wayo www. And not only Fu barely budged, Naruto felt as if every finger in his hand broke at once. Hee, told you, Fu chuckled. You need to pack far more power to make me feel pain. Just what the hell do they feed you? Naruto cried, as he nursed his injured hand, which was starting to turn red. It's like punching a wall of bricks. I know, right? I was super strong before, but after having access to all of Komiai's power, my strength and endurance are even higher, she boasted, while flexing her biceps. Now try stabbing my stomach with a kunai. Hey you two, no more fooling around, let's start the training, or I'm going to beat you down. Killer Bee called his two younger counterparts. Coming. Fu chirped, as she and Naruto walked towards the senior Jinchuriki. You now can use your beast's whole power, and that's great, but now you need to learn how to use it, you agree, mate? Killer Bee began. In order to master your power, you must first get used to it, so let's start little by little, learn to use only a wit. As you say, sensei. Naruto replied. Sensei? Killer Bee asked, as he rested his chin over his hand. I would have preferred if you called me Killer Bee-sama, but guess that sensei would do. Okay, let's start already, let's see what you can push through. And thus, Naruto and Fu began their training under Killer Bee's eccentric yet surprisingly effective teaching method, while Hiruzen, Tenzo, and the rest of the escort team watched them master their powers. Allied Ninja Forces Main HQ, Land of Fire. The new headquarters building had been built in record time, mostly thanks to Rin and Kaida's would release speeding the process, and it would have been done much sooner if their third would release user, Tenzo, wasn't away. From this building, the higher echelons of the Allied Ninja Forces would be able to coordinate the war effort. It was also where the Intelligence Division and most of the Sensor Division were located as well. At the top floor of the building was the War Room. Like many of its kind, this War Room had a huge table with a detailed map of the elemental nations on it, that the 5 Kages and their advisors would use to monitor their progress and plan strategy. Around the table, some sitting, and some standing, were the 5 Kages, Mifune, and some of their advisors, such as Shikaku Nara, Ebizo, Chiyo, Ao, or Anoki. Konan was also present as well, given her past ties with Akatsuki. Our spies already warned us of Akatsuki's mobilization, May began. Turns out Obito wasn't bluffing when he claimed he had a massive army. My spies counted almost 100,000 effectives, split among smaller divisions. So, they outnumber us, Kuratsuchi gravely said. Any suggestion on how are we going to deal with such a problem? With strategy, granddaughter, Anoki intervened. Numbers don't win war. We can beat Akatsuki if we are able to outsmart them. Numbers might not win wars, but they surely help, Raza intervened, sending Anoki a challenging glare. Plus, Akatsuki not only has quantity on their side, but quality as well. Reports also said that the battalions of Zetsu clones are accompanied by undead ninjas reanimated through impure world resurrection. We have many tough battles ahead. How did Akatsuki manage to get their hands on that jutsu? I find unlikely that Orochimaru decided to share his knowledge with them, Jiraiya pondered. You told us that he had defected them, given his absence during the invasion of Konoha. Do you think there's a chance Orochimaru might have rejoined their ranks? May asked. It was Konan who answered. I find that very unlikely. Our policy was zero tolerance for traitors and deserters. We were planning to send a team to kill Orochimaru for good, but our failure in capturing the Jinchuriki of the 8 Tails forced us to drop such course of action. A growled upon hearing Konan talking about his brother's capture in such a casual manner. Still, he decided it was for the best to keep his temper in check, and bit his tongue. Konan was a valuable asset, and they couldn't afford losing her. Once the war was over, though, but that was when your friend was the leader, the Raikage spoke. Maybe Obito decided to be more lenient. Especially since he's going to need any asset he can get his hands onto if he wants to win the war. It's a possibility, yes, Konan agreed. Orochimaru might have been able to buy his return into the organization in exchange of an army of undead, unkillable ninjas. Not as unkillable. While they're few, we have some ninjas able to destroy reanimations permanently, Jiraiya helpfully said. Still, this begets a question, Shikaku spoke. Why did Orochimaru want to rejoin Akatsuki? What's in for him? We don't even know why he left to begin with, Jiraiya said, looking at Conan. This merely conjecture, but if I had to guess, I'd say the promise of the Rinnegan, Conan said. Orochimaru and Danzo worked together, and Danzo attempted to steal a Rinnegan from Konoha after Nagato's death. However, Obito managed to intercept it before Orochimaru could get it. It is possible that Obito promised Orochimaru a Rinnegan in exchange of his help. And do you think Obito would honor that promise? Jiraiya asked. The idea of a Rinnegan-wielding Orochimaru wasn't something he liked to entertain. It would be like a nightmare come to life. I find it unlikely, Conan said, as she crossed her arms. The Rinnegan, even just one, is an incredibly powerful tool. If I were Obito, I wouldn't honor that promise. Plus, given that Orochimaru already betrayed Akatsuki once, Obito might have him killed once his usefulness reaches its end. Still, we can't afford to just wait for the best, Kuratsuchi intervened. We need to know where is Akatsuki's main base. Orochimaru will be directing his zombie puppets from there. We send a team to kill him and one less problem to worry about. It's not that easy. We don't know where such base is located, they stated. The white Zetsu clones come from different directions, suggesting multiple bases. Actually, the Zetsu clones are able to travel underground. They probably dispersed and re-emerged at different points in order to confuse us, Conan told the Raikage. That leaves us very little options, Kuratsuchi said, as she looked at the map intently. Based on their movements, it appears that some battalions are moving towards the Land of Fire, while others are heading to the north, towards the Land of Lightning. The last three Jinchuriki are under Konoha and Kumo's care, so such course of action is a sensible one, Anoki commented. For the time being, given our current situation, I think we should fight defensively, Kuratsuchi suggested. Reinforce our positions, let Akatsuki come at us, and stall them in a war of attrition until their resources bleed dry. A good idea on paper, but I'm seeing some holes, Mei interjected. We don't know how fast the Akatsuki can produce their Zetsu clones. If we aren't careful, it may be Akatsuki the ones bleeding our resources. The fact that they didn't use them until now suggests that they do take some time to be produced, Raza deduced. Which would make Kuratsuchi's strategy the more viable course of action. Still, this doesn't mean we can't change our strategy next, Jiraiya said. Though focusing on defense might give us an opportunity to analyze the enemy better, and if possible, prepare a counterattack. Given our lack on detailed intel on the enemy, I also support Tsuchikage Dano's plan as well, Shikaku said. Then, there's nothing more to discuss, A said. As we speak, hordes of enemies are invading our lands. It's about time to mobilize our troops and meet the enemy in the battlefield. First, let's address the army. They should be gathered just outside, Mei suggested. Given that I'm the supreme commander, should be the one to address the troops, Jiraiya suggested. The others nodded in return. As Jiraiya headed to the balcony, Anoki walked towards his granddaughter. It seemed she imagined what he wanted to tell her, and decided to ask him first. So, how was that? Kuratsuchi asked, looking a little nervous. Very good. You did a fine job. A very sensible suggestion, Anoki praised her. Thanks, the black-haired girl said, smiling a little. I'm trying my best. I may not show it, but I feel a little overwhelmed. The other Kages have far more experience than I do, and I'm not as versed in playing politics as they are. Patience. That's a skill you will develop over time, Anoki reassured. Besides, it's not that necessary now. Even if some of these people have been our historical enemies, we're on the same side now. Anoki remembered very well the day after Kuratsuchi's appointment. Deciding he was too old to continue as the reigning Kage, he decided to pass the hat to his granddaughter, so he could retire and a new generation could bring IWA to the future. Everything went fine at first, with Kuratsuchi slowly but surely growing into the position. Then those Kumo ninjas arrived, with their letter requesting that Tsuchikage attend a Kage summit to deal with the Akatsuki menace. Their timing couldn't have been any worse. Even if Kuratsuchi was a powerful kunoichi, one needed more than mere power to be a Kage, and his granddaughter was still too green to deal with the other Kages. But he couldn't retake the position, so a more experienced ninja could tackle this crisis, not without destroying her granddaughter's reputation and credibility in the process. If Kuratsuchi was a Kage, she had to deal with this kind of things, experienced or not. Upon returning from the meeting with the other Kages, the poor girl was on the verge of crying. During the creation of the Ninja Alliance, she was basically forced to handle all of Iwa's military might to Konoha, their greatest enemy. Despite her best efforts, she was bested by an alliance between the Hokage, Mizukage, and Kazekage. Anoki had told her that it was okay, and that IWA would remain independent once the war was over. Even if it might make her look like he was holding her hand, Kuratsuchi decided to bring her grandpa to following meetings, under the pretense of being a very experienced man when it comes to warfare. Fortunately, other Kages also brought more people as advisors as well, so her excuse was easily bought. Still, Anoki wanted to make sure his granddaughter would grow more confident as a Kage. Plus, I think you earned their respect when you took the initiative and suggested a course of action that was reasonable and sensible, Anoki said. If there's a bright side to this awful war is that you'll come out as a much better Kage once it ends. Thank you, Grandpa, Kuratsuchi said with a smile. Outside HQ, almost the whole army of the Ninja Allied Forces had been assembled outside of its main HQ. More than 80,000 ninjas, coming from multiple different villages, spread in front of the HQ building, like a colossal mosaic of multiple colors. One of the largest armies ever gathered. And it was hard to believe that the enemy's army was even greater in number. Still, seeing such a multitude together inspired courage in each of its members. The army was split into 5 shapeless masses of people, one for each division, which would be commanded by one of the 5 Kage minus Jiraiya and Mifune. Though technically speaking, there were more than 5 divisions, but those were dedicated to logistical roles, and were much smaller in number. Given the size of the groups, it was only logical that many people who were close or at least have some friendship with each other ended up in the same division together, Choji. Karui. The Konoha ninja and the Kyumo kunoichi quickly went to greet each other, and shared a loving embrace, as Omoi and the rest of the tactical squad walked towards them. It's so good that we ended up in the same division. Choji cheered. Now we can fight side by side. Indeed. Karui agreed, but her expression then became deadly serious. Though, given that we're going to fight a war of such scale, you better don't let me down. If your performance in battle is poor, I'll break up with you. Choji's face paled upon hearing it. What? Ignore her, Omoi stated, as he walked towards them. It's a coping mechanism. She tends to get like that when she's nervous or scared. Shut up, you dummy. Karui lamely told her male teammate. No, I mean if you threaten to break up with me, does that mean that we're a couple? Choji asked. Omoi chuckled as Karui's hands flew to her mouth, upon realizing what she just said. I mean, well, it's that I guess not, given that we haven't gone on any formal dates yet, you know, the redhead nervously explained. You two went to eat together a couple times when we were in Konoha, Ino pointed out. And I don't mean going out with other people. The two of you alone. That sounds like a date to me, Omoi agreed with a nod. Karui let out an exasperated sigh. Okay, fine, we've been going on dates. And yes, that means we're a couple. Will you dumbass shut up now and stop meddling in my private life? Was it that hard to admit? Omoi said with a smirk, as he left his teammate alone with Choji and his team. It's finally official, I have a girlfriend. Woohoo! Choji cheered, as he pumped his fist into the air. If we weren't about to fight a war, I'd be so excited. Well, congratulations, Choji, Shikamaru said, as he, Asuma and Ino walked to the newly formed couple once Omoi was out of sight. It's good to see something happy before heading into a war. Plus, Shika and I aren't that lucky, Ino said, shaking her head. Temari is the 4th division with her dad and brothers. And Sai was sent to the goddamn moon with Hinata. My wife is on the 4th division too, Asuma lamented, as he let out a sigh. Then again, try to be positive about it. Absence makes the heart to grow fonder. At the very least, our teams weren't split, Ino said. By the way, where is your other teammate, Karui? Choji asked. T is part of the medical division. She will be assigned to one of the main divisions as need arises, the redhead explained. Though, I hope she doesn't end up with us. I already have to deal with Omoi's nonsense, and his teasing is going to be even worse now that we're a couple. Do they think I'm not boyfriend material? Choji asked, sounding a little self-conscious. Nah, there's nothing wrong with you, Karui said nonchalantly. Let's say that I'm not exactly popular with boys. They say I have too much of a temper. Huh. What I don't have is patience for bullshit. And those two always have fun at my expense trying to hook me up with whatever boy shows any interest in me just to see me explode. Well, you do have a little of a temper, Ino said. Karui glared at her, but the blonde didn't flinch. And I know a few things about temper. Just ignore them, and they'll stop, Shikamaru said. Or even better, show them how happy you're with Choji. That's bound to shut them up. I don't have much faith in that plan, but I'll keep it in mind. Unlike Team Asuma, not all teams were lucky enough to stay whole. Sasuke was separated from the rest of the medical squad, given that his 2 other teammates and sensei were part of the medical division, and Sasuke wasn't made part of the ninjas that would escort them. Given his skill, power, and record, they decided he would make better use of his talents in the front lines, a logic the younger Uchiha couldn't disagree with. The Uchiha found ironic that he actually missed them, given that a few years ago, he would have paid to get rid of them, if only temporarily, and have some peace. Though, at the very least, there were some people Sasuke was close to, or at the very least, was on good terms with. WSH. All the waiting is killing me. Hopefully our commanders will give us the order to go to the front soon. Lee energically shouted. I admire your enthusiasm, Lee, but this is a war we're talking about. Guy replied, just as energetic, but sounding a little chiding. Don't get over your head, or you will get killed. Don't worry, Guy-sensei. My performance in the battlefield shall be second to no one. You won't have to worry about me. Lee replied. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Of all the people from Konoha he knew to be grouped up with, Team Guy wasn't his preferred choice. Oh well, at the very least, Itachi was also in the same division as him. He looked to the side, and saw his older brother, a couple meters away from him. Talking to somebody. Her. I'm so nervous I wish I had your temperance, Itachi-kun. I'm not as calm as you think, Natsu-san, Itachi replied. I've been in a war before, and knowing what I'm going to face doesn't make it any easier. Quite the contrary. This caught the Hyuga's attention. But how old are you? You can't be older than 25, and the last big war ended when we were children. I know. I was 4 when the third war was going on. Sometimes, my father would take me to the battlefield, so I could see firsthand what it means to be a ninja, Itachi explained. Natsu took her hands to her mouth in horror. But that's terrible. What kind of person would take a small child to a battlefield of all places? Father would sometimes complain about people who become ninjas, but were unaware of the reality of the world we live in. Given that I was supposed to be the next clan head, Father wanted me to know that, Itachi said. And he succeeded. Probably far better than he expected. What do you mean? Natsu asked. The night of the Uchiha insurrection, do you know why I did what I did? Not only why I sided with Konoha over the clan despite my father leading the coup, but the fact that I decided to kill half the Uchiha ninjas myself? Itachi asked. Natsu's face was starting to lose what little color had, but nodded at him to continue. Because they didn't think long term. Even if they were successful, an Uchiha-ruled Konoha was doomed to fail. Many people wouldn't accept their rule, and would start a civil war. That would weaken Konoha from the inside, and encourage other villages to invade us. It would be the beginning of the Fourth Ninja War. With every clan member I felt like a civil war and potential war was pushed further and further away. I didn't see them as family members, not even humans beings, just obstacles to peace I needed to remove. Once Itachi finished, neither of them didn't say anything for a few minutes. Natsu stared at Itachi, while Itachi merely stared at his feet. Then, after a bit of hesitation, the Hyuga woman placed a comforting hand on the Uchiha's shoulder. You must feel pretty awful when you think about that," she began. "But I don't want you to think you're a bad person. You did what it thought it was the best. Fighting against your family is never easy. They may hurt you, you hate them in return, but deep down, you know that it's your own flesh and blood, and wish things weren't the way they are. It's normal that you feel guilty for what you did, but it was also for the best." "You speak as if you knew what I'm talking about," Itachi replied. "I'm really hoping you weren't forced to kill a family member." "Fortunately, it never got that bad, but sometimes the thought crossed my mind," Natsu replied, as she removed her forehead protector. "My forehead hasn't been as it is now. Not even a couple months ago, it sported the caged bird cursed seal, which allowed the main family members to cause me unbearable pain with a mere hand gesture if I ever stepped out of line." "At the very least, you got rid of it," Itachi pointed out. "Thankfully, yes." "Thanks to Hinata-sama," Natsu replied, as she put the protector back on. "It's ironic that a person I used to hate ended up being the one to release me from my yokel." "You hated Hinata?" "From what I heard, she's a very kind girl. Everybody that knows her likes to some degree," Itachi said, a bit surprised. "Not that I hated her personally," Natsu replied. "I hated the whole main house. How I was forced into servitude, how I had to be Hanabi-sama's babysitter instead of improving my ninja career, like the main house members did. Only the best of the branch members, like Niji, were allowed such privilege. I knew Hinata was kind and all the things they said about her, but despite her good intentions, I doubted she would change the status quo. Any other clan head with such power would have used it to consolidate their grip on the clan. Right now, I'd love nothing more than swapping my place with a babysitter," Itachi noted, chuckling a little. "It might sound stupid and naive, but I don't. I want to make a difference in a way that involves my ninja training," Natsu said, as she looked at her Konoha Chunin uniform. "Though I do feel a little odd right now. I'm so used to the maid uniform, these clothes feel strange on me." "I think your maid uniform also looked better on you," Itachi said, smirking a little. Natsu smiled back at him. "Why do I have the feeling that there's a hidden meaning to those words, Itachi-kun?" Once again, Sasuke rolled his eyes. Of course it was his luck that the Hyuga that had been hanging out with his brother a lot for the past few weeks would be assigned to the same division as them. Itachi might deny it now, but it was obvious that Natsu was interested in something more than a friendship, and so was his brother. Guess neither of them wanted to rush things. Sasuke knew his jealousy was unjustified. He might not express it as outwardly as Sasuke did, but the weight of Itachi's decisions wore him down little by little. Itachi deserved to find love, just like Sasuke did. I can't get mad at her for taking Itachi's attention. I'm not a little kid anymore. Plus, they seem to click quite nicely, Sasuke inwardly berated himself. I guess I took Itachi for granted, and expected him to be there for me whenever I wanted. Or maybe I'm missing Sakura, and Itachi and his Hyuga are reminding me of her. Sasuke discreetly activated his Sharingan, and scanned the crowd, hoping to see more people he knew. Given that the commander of the 2nd Division was the Tsuchikage, about half the ninjas hailed from IWA. In the sea of red uniforms, Sasuke also saw some white and navy from Kumo, and tan and white from Suna, but very little green and navy from Konoha. Oh well. The less people he knew, the less friends he had to see die in front of his eyes. Speaking of Suna, there was also a certain girl that was also lamenting the fact that she wasn't grouped with the person she was hoping for. Man, I can't believe we were placed in a different team from Garasama's, Matsuri whined. Now I won't be able to protect him. I doubt he needs your protection, Mikashi said, rolling his eyes. Plus, it was inevitable. Chances were that most of us we will end up in another division. Yeah. Let's be happy that our team remains whole. Yukata cheered. You're right. Complaining like this is not befitting a ninja of my rank, Matsuri conceded, as she looked at her Chunin vest. Now, let's do our best so we can end this war as soon as possible. Yes. Do you see anybody from Konoha? Anybody we may know, Zaku asked, as she looked at Dosu. Or here, in your case. With such massive crowd, all my ears pick is a nonsensical cacophony of voices and murmurs. I can't really tell one voice from the other, Dosu complained. I already told you guys that none of those guys were in the same division as us, Kin said, crossing her arms. There's barely any Konoha ninjas here. All what I see are mostly Kiri ninjas. Natural, given that this is the division commanded by the Mizukage, Anko chimed in, joining the conversation. Though, you should be glad that we got assigned to this division, given that we missed our chance to take part in the Kirigakure Civil War. Are you sad you weren't sent to fight in a war, sensei? Kin asked, raising an eyebrow. When she heard what had happened in their absence, she was glad that they were away on a C-rank mission protecting a merchant caravan that was heading to the Land of Wind. I would have agreed with you if it was any other war, but it was the Kirigakure Civil War. We could have fought both side by side and against the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Anko said, gushing like a schoolgirl talking about her favorite idol. One of the most efficient, brutal, and with the highest confirmed kill count squads in all of history. You have no idea how jealous I was when Shizen told me that she and her team got to kill Jinpachi Minashi, and Asuma and his team got to kill Kushimaru Courier. Not to mention fighting alongside the new wielders of the Thunderfangs and Hiramakarei. Fortunately, fate seems kind enough to give us another chance. I don't think if that's something worth celebrating either, Dosu said. A division with the 7 swordsmen will be assigned the fiercest battles. So? The better. That way we can show off our abilities and when the war is over, getting a promotion, Zaku confidently shouted. You're talking my language as well, kid. Anko nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, the 7, or better said, 6 swordsmen of the mist, were also talking among each other while they were waiting the Kages to end their meeting and give them the order to advance. I was kind of surprised that they allowed to keep the squad whole, Suigetsu commented. I was expecting that they would split us to the other 4 divisions, so each division could have one of us at least. Mizukage-sama must have told them that our unit works better as a team, Miyako said. Plus, seeing 6 of the 7 swordsmen of the mist fighting together after so long will be quite the morale booster. At least for our fellow Kirigakure ninja. Yeah, whatever, just try not to get in my way when I'm cutting down those white Zetsu thing to tiny bits. Amiri said, making a couple swings with the Thunderfangs for added emphasis, nearly cutting Chojuro, who jumped back with a yelp. See? This is why you guys need to keep your distance. Don't try to play lone wolf, girl, Zabuza chastised, glaring at the redhead. Wars aren't won by individually. No matter how strong you are, you will end up facing an opponent you can't beat on your own. And then, you'll find you have no backup to rely on. I thought you'd be on my side, Zabuza Taicho, Amiri said, sheathing her swords before crossing her arms. You're somebody who tends to fight alone as well. While that's true, I fight alone because my sword has a long range and I can hurt my allies if I'm not careful, so my concentration isn't split, Zabuza explained. That doesn't mean that I don't disregard my allies, given that I may need them at any moment. Go and fight alone if that's how you think you're more effective, but keep also in mind that all of us are part of a much bigger division, and we're expected to fight as one. Amiri let out a snort. Whatever keeps you from nagging me constantly? It's not the captain you'll have to be worried about, Amiri-san, Miyako told her. Mizuki-sama herself will be leading this division, and we shall fight alongside her. We can't disappoint her. We already fought alongside Mizuki-sama during the Civil War. This is nothing new, Amiri countered, rolling her eyes. That's true, but this time, we'll be fighting alongside plenty of other villages, not just a nadful of Konoha ninjas, Chojuro interceded. If we did a bad job, it would not only bring shame upon us, but upon Kiri as well. Like how the previous generation got their asses handed by a Konoha genin. Suigetsu said, chuckling. Though, with a bar so low, it's impossible to fall even lower. None of you will bring shame to Kiri nor the swords you carry, because I'll make sure you put your best performance, Sabuza said in a commanding tone. And remember, besides those white Zetsu clones, intelligence reported many impure Woolard resurrection zombies. No matter how skilled we are, those things can't be killed with brute force alone. Don't worry, we have never brought shame to our blades or our village, and we never will, Suigetsu reassured. Meanwhile, in another group, half of the members of the assault squad were talking with each other, while waiting for the others from the higher-ups. On top of Kurenai and Haku, Yakumo Kurama had joined them as well, given that she was still under Kurenai's custody. The two youths looked a bit uneasy, Haku constantly looking at the division besides them, and Yakumo constantly shifting her position. Are you guys okay? Kurenai asked. A little nervous, but otherwise I'm fine, the ice ninja replied, without looking at her. Me too. One good thing about being trained by Root is that I'm completely capable of controlling my emotions. Fear included, Yakumo stated. Controlling? Or suppressing? Kurenai prodded, raising an eyebrow. In this case, controlling, Yakumo assured her. Trust me, Sensei, I've done quite the share of dangerous missions while working under Danzo. I know the scale of a war is something I've never seen before, but I'm ready for anything. Remember, if you want to talk about anything, I'm here for you, Kurenai said, placing a hand on the girl's shoulder. Then, she turned at Haku. The same goes for you. Is there anything you want to tell me? Why do you ask? You've been looking at that other division for quite some time, Kurenai pointed out. From what I heard, that's where Zabuza-sama and the rest of the swordsmen have been assigned, Haku told her. It's a pity we weren't assigned to that division. I would have liked to fight at Zabuza-sama's side once again. Or at the very least, being able to talk with him before heading to the front lines. It's been a while since the last time we met. It's understandable. But don't despair, Kurenai told him, as he placed a hand on his shoulder. You'll be able to talk to him again. Zabuza is a strong ninja, and he won't die that easily. And you won't die either as long as I'm here. Haku acknowledged Kurenai's encouragement with a smile. Then, he asked, this isn't your first war, is it, Sensei? Kurenai nodded in affirmation. Correct. I took part in the Third Ninja War, about 18 years ago. I remember I was only 12, not even Chunin yet. As a general norm, genin aren't sent to the front lines, and they're usually kept as a reserve force, or for logistic tasks, but back in the day Konoha suffered from low numbers. So lucky me, I got a taste of what war is like when I was barely a teenager. I'm sorry to hear that. I had to be a crushing experience, Haku told her. It was. Though I doubt it was any worse than your childhood in the Land of Water. Or your years en route, Kurenai sympathetically told her students. Though, on the bright side, the next Chunin exams became a joke in comparison, and I was able to nail a promotion easily. Still, I hope Haku-san, a new female voice shouted. Hey, Haku-san. Both Genjutsu Mistress and Land of Water native turned towards the direction of the voice, and they saw a girl with dark blonde hair decked in a Kirigakure uniform running towards them, waving both arms wildly. While Kurenai didn't know who was this girl, she didn't remember seeing her during the Kurogakure Civil War. Haku immediately recognized her. Hataru-san, Haku said, smiling widely. Hey, Haku-san. It's so great to see you again. Hataru said, panting a little after stopping her run. It's amazing we were assigned to the same division. Indeed it is, Haku said. By the way, let me introduce you to my sensei, Kurenai Yuhi, AMD Yakumo Kurama, a friend and fellow Konoha ninja. Kurenai sensei, Yaku-san, this is Hataru, a girl we met during our mission to protect Utakata. Nice to meet you, Kurenai-san. Hataru said, shaking her hand. Haku-san and his teammates told me quite a lot about you. Yes, I do remember that they also mentioned you when they told me about their mission on Nagi Island, Kurenai replied. And nice to meet you too, Yakumo-san. Hataru greeting, shaking her hand as well. Though I'm afraid I haven't heard of you until now. That's understandable. Most people thought I was dead until recently, Yakumo told her. Upon seeing Hataru's confused face, the last Kurama clan member added, It's a long story. I'll tell you another time. So, you finally became a Kurogakure ninja? Haku asked. Yes. And I secured a promotion during the latest Chunin exams. Hataru said, proudly displaying her Kurogakure flak jacket. Congratulations. Utakata-san would have been very proud of you, Haku told her. Yeah, I like to think that, Hataru said, as her gaze drifted down. His memory is what keeps me going. And now, I'll try my hardest to stop Akatsuki and brings his killers to justice. Though, from what I heard, the leader of Akatsuki had already met his just desserts. You heard right. Pain died during the Akatsuki invasion of Konoha, Kurenai told her. It was Naruto who defeated him for good. Oh, speaking of which, what about him? And Hinata-san? Hataru asked. I thought they'd be in the same division as you too. Naruto is on a secret location, training to master his Jinchuriki powers under the tutelage of another Jinchuriki, Kurenai explained. And Hinata has been assigned a special mission far away from here. Oh. I see. Let's hope that they return from their training soon, because I remember that they were very powerful ninja, Hataru said. We might need their help if we want to end this as soon as possible. Yeah, let's hope, Haku agreed. Not far away from there, in the same group, the Sand siblings were also talking among each other, passing the time until the Kages finished their initial strategy and issued the orders. Gaara looked as stoic as ever, though Temari looked mildly upset, something Kankuro noticed. What's with that face, sis? Kankuro asked. Disappointed that you weren't put in the same division as Pineapple Head? Temari glared at her younger brother. First of all, don't call him that. Only I get to insult him, Temari said. And yes, I admit I was hoping we could fight together. Though that's not the only thing in my mind. Whatever troubles you, you can share it with us, Gaara said. And you better do. It's not wise to go to the battlefield with a troubled mind. You probably heard about those reanimated ninjas that the enemy is using, Temari began. Do you think we might have to fight against somebody we used to know? Like Mom? Kankuro suggested. I don't think so. Mom was a ninja but not a very strong one. If they resurrect anybody from Suna to fight us, it will be our strongest ninjas who died during the past years. Like the previous Kazekages. Or Pakura of the Scorched Earth, Gaara suggested. She was powerful enough to be taken into account for the position of 4th Kazekage, before father was appointed. Naruto and Hinata told me that when Orochimaru first used the jutsu, he resurrected the 1st, 2nd, and 4th Hokages, as well as the latter's wife in order to destroy Konoha. Whoa, really? Kankuro asked, surprised. And how did Konoha manage to survive? Because from what I heard, the 1st Hokage was immensely powerful. No Konoha ninja would have been able to even make him fight seriously. Naruto and Hinata didn't fight any of the reanimations, but from what I heard, they only had a fraction of the original's power. That's how they beat them, Temari explained. The Hokage revised the notes they had on the jutsu, and if you try to revive a very powerful ninja, the caster must reduce their power, or else they risk losing control. Oh, then that jutsu isn't so great, Kenkuro said, visibly relieved. Even if they send the past Kazekages against us, they will be shadows of their former selves. Even if they can't be killed by normal means, sealing them will be child's play. You have an awful habit of underestimating your opponent, Kenkuro, Gaara chided the puppeteer. Hey, I'm just trying to see the bright side of a situation. But you don't have to worry, I'm not planning to drop my guard at any point, Kenkuro assured him. Though, I wonder if they will reanimate Sasori. I'd like to have a second round against him for that time he nearly killed us. You already had your second round, Temari reminded him. You fought against him alongside Maki-sensei, Hinata, and Kurenai, yeah, but I felt I didn't contribute that much to the fight, plus Hinata ended up dealing the killing blow, Kenkuro replied. Plus this time I have new and better puppets to fight with. While I try to be above such things, I admit I'd like a rematch against Deidara, Gaara confessed. Now that I know the way he fights, I'm confident I'd be able to bring him down. Now that I think about it, if Akatsuki didn't take your tailed beast, you wouldn't be here with us, but training with Naruto and that Taki girl on a secret island, Kenkuro said in realization. I can't imagine how freakishly strong you would be if you had the whole power of Shikaku at your command. It's something I'd prefer not to dwell on, Gaara replied. Even if they're a distant memory now, I still remember Shikaku's maddening whispers in my head, telling me to kill others. It's a power I wouldn't want unless I was able to silence that voice forever. So I'm guessing you don't want to become Shikaku's vessel again once we get the one tail back, Temari said. Understandable. I wouldn't mind to bear that burden again, given that I'm experienced with it. But this time, I'd prefer if Jiraiya-sama was the one doing the sealing, Gaara replied, crossing his arms. No disrespect to Chiyoba-sama, but sealing wasn't her forte. Speaking of her, I heard that she wanted to rejoin active duty, Temari said. She wanted to, but father didn't want somebody so past her prime in the front lines, Gaara told the other two. He allowed her to have a voice in the strategic and tactical meetings, given her experience in previous wars. It's probably for the better, Temari said with a nod. This war has to be won by the current generation, and not let our forefathers do our jobs for us. Kakashi-sensei, are you okay? Tamaki asked, looking at the silver-haired Jonin a bit worried. While most people have been doing some small talk among each other before the Kages would address them and issue their first orders, Kakashi had been staring into the horizon, his one visible eye not focused on anything in particular. Tamaki's voice, however, seemed to snap him from a trance he got caught in. Yeah, I'm fine, Kakashi replied. I was just thinking, well, many things. Like how soon we've been embroidered in another war. The third ninja war ended before you guys were even born, yet it felt like it was yesterday. The time between two wars is always too short, regardless of how many years pass between them, Shino sagely noted. My mom used to tell me about the third ninja war when I wanted to hear her past exploits. Though rather than combat, she did mostly scouting and tracking jobs, Kiba interceded. He then paused and crossed his arms, before adding, I'm afraid this war will be even bloodier. Unfortunately, yes, it appears to be the case, Tamaki sadly agreed. Hey, don't be so glum, okay? Kakashi told them, raising his voice a little. If we stick together, we will all go home in one piece. As long as I'm alive, I'll make sure none of you will die. As much as we appreciate the thought, Kakashi-sensei, that doesn't depend on you, Shino said, as he adjusted his shades. During war, chaos and disorder reign supreme, which makes an ideal scenario for sudden and unexpected deaths. Yeah. Not to rub salt on the wound, But you end up losing two of your teammates during the past war, Kiba reminded Kakashi. Even if the two of them turned out to be alive. Though, that doesn't mean that we think we're doomed to die, Tamaki added. We will do our best to stay alive. But if we don't, well, we don't want you to think it was your fault. Except if you die, it is my fault. A subordinate's death is always the leader's fault, Kakashi stated. I think both Rin and I told you the story of how we thought Obito died, and how I acquired my Sharingan, right? The three of them nodded. The reason the mission went the way it did was that neither of us three were ready to take missions in the middle of a war without Sensei's supervision, Kakashi stated. A leader must know their subordinates' capabilities, and what jobs are they fit to do, and which ones are too much. So you think it was the fourth's fault that Obito ended up the way he did, Shino guessed. Yes, and no. He's partly to blame, but there were other factors that weren't his fault, Kakashi added, then he let out a weary sigh. You know, this is the reason I didn't want to be a Jonin sensei to begin with. You were afraid to lose your students the same way you lost your teammates and sensei, Kiba replied. It wasn't a guess but a statement. Correct, Kakashi said. When I was doing solo missions, or working with people of similar skill to mine at ANBU, I was at peace, knowing that everybody knew how to take care of themselves and that if the worst came to happen, it wouldn't be my fault. But if I had to take 3 genin fresh out of the academy under my care, I'll have to be much more careful. Even if they mostly do D ranks and the occasional C rank, genin deaths are far more common than you think. You'd be surprised how often a C rank turns out to be much more dangerous than initially assessed thanks to faulty intel. So forgive me if I sound too overprotective, or like I'm underestimating your skill, but as long as this war lasts, I'm not taking any risks. This squad will act, move and fight as one, unless we have no other option but split. Contrary to what he was expecting, his 3 students nodded in agreement. I think is the wisest decision. We might have grown stronger during the past years, but we are a tracking squad, not a combat one, Tamaki acknowledged. Even if we fought against Akatsuki before, Shino said. They proved to be formidable enemies, and we were unable to win without external help. The Aburaim recalled how Haiden and Kakuzu dominated the battle, and almost lost Kakashi-sensei, even with Fu and Shibuki's help, and it wasn't until Naruto and his teammates appeared that the battle took a turn in their favor. And to say nothing of Obito summoning the 9 tails in front of them. And hey, we don't want to worry you, Kiba added. There will be time to show you our full potential once the war is over. Hey, that's very mature of you, Kiba, Tamaki complimented. I was expecting you to protest and complain that you're ready to kick ass on your own. My thoughts exactly, Shino added, crossing his arms. Kiba stared at his 2 teammates with eyes full annoyance. Sometimes I feel you guys don't give me enough credit. Listen, we already fought against Akatsuki a couple times, and those guys are some tough nuts to crack. If they're going all out, we better be careful. There was a moment of silence following Kiba's statement. However, before any of them could continue their conversation, the cacophony of murmurs around them grew much louder all of a sudden. Kakashi looked up and saw the source of the commotion. Oh look! There he is, the masked Jonin said in a bored tone. Because on the highest balcony of the Alliance HQ, Jiraiya, the other 4 Kages, and Mizun were standing right now. Jiraiya took a step forward. Everybody, be quiet, the Raikage roared, and the chatter stated to die down almost instantly. The Supreme Commander is going to speak. Thank you, Raikage, Jiraiya told the temperamental man, before turning at the massive crowd below. Greetings everybody. People of Konoha, Kumo, Suna, Kiri, Iwa, Aim and Taki, as well as the samurai from the land of iron. You know, if somebody told me a mere year ago that all great villages and some of the minor ones would put their differences aside and join their forces to fight a common foe, I would have laughed at them in their face. But alas, there is an enemy powerful enough to merit such alliance. Said enemy is Akatsuki. As somebody who has been researching and fighting Akatsuki for years, I couldn't even imagine the true extent of their resources, and the way they infiltrated our nations, and how far are they willing to go to make sure their goals are fulfilled. They're an enemy unlike any other, and thus they must be fought in a way not seen before. Together. As one. In the past, we've been enemies. All of us have fought pretty much each other in every past war, even if many of us weren't even born when some of those wars begun. But now, seeing all of you gathered here before my eyes, I like to think of this not of just a crisis to avert, but an opportunity to take. Akatsuki believes the world is hopeless as it is, that it will be doomed to a state of constant warfare between ninja villages. That only they have the means to achieve peace, but their peace will come at the cost of thousands of lives, not to mention our freedom. However, we shall prove Akatsuki wrong. From this point onwards, we aren't ninjas fighting on behalf of our villages or our nations, but our own future. From this point onwards, we become comrades, brethren, fighting for what we know is right. Because once this war is won, we won't return to the status quo, we will create a better world and a better tomorrow for all of us to live. Jiraiya's speech was met with a roaring ovation. The white-haired Sannin smirked. He always took pride in his ability to write inspiring speeches. You guys must feel antsy. I'm a veteran of 2 wars, so I can tell that the wait before the first battle is even worse than the battle itself. But fret no more. Multiple armies of white Zetsu clones, moon puppets and impure world resurrection zombies are coming from the west towards the lands of fire and lightning as we speak. Now, we shall go to the front, and protect our lands from these invaders. Once again, the crowd erupted into cheers and shouts declaring their imminent victory. Yes, their morale was now at their peak. Nodding and satisfied at a job well done, Jiraiya turned towards the other Kages and Mifune. Alright, time to move out. You know your orders, so you know what to do, the Toad Sage said. Now go, and return victorious. And try to come back alive as well. You won't have to worry about us, Hokage-sama. I mean, Supreme Commander, Mei corrected herself. I still have a settle to score with those bastards for nearly killing my children, Raza seethed, clenching his hand into a fist. I'll make sure that they get their just retribution for Yujito and Killer Bee as well, the Raikage added. I may be the youngest Kage, but I'll show you guys that I'm your equal once you see my results. Kuratsuchi proudly declared. You can leave it to us, Supreme Commander, Mifune replied. A few minutes later, the 5 division commanders joined their divisions, and all of them headed towards 5 different directions. Jiraiya, still in the balcony, watched them go. His head was now filled with one thought, the same thought he had just before he took part in the 2nd and 3rd Ninja Wars, as well as their participation in the Kiridikure Civil War. How many of them would return home alive?